This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist, Dave Martin.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I was telling Sue and the gang this story because I hate it when I miss things, and every once in a while I miss things. And, you know, a week ago, Fred, can you believe it's a week ago for the election already?
Yeah.
I was looking at some Facebook posts. You know, when you look at Facebook, sometimes these things don't happen when, you know, people post today. It comes up and it's from a couple of days ago. Yeah. The way the algorithm works and stuff like that, right? So there was something that came up from last week where this guy, what's his name? Mark Maxwell at Channel 5. I think he was doing the election coverage, and Dennis Hancock, who is the Republican nominee, he didn't have any opposition, right? So he is the Republican nominee for St. Louis County Executive. He apparently, and I didn't know this, we talked to him on Wednesday, right? But apparently last Tuesday night he was on set doing election coverage, and you know who was doing it with him? Jasmine Crockett.
That's just so bizarre to me.
Like, I couldn't think of two people that are more opposite than Dennis Hancock and Jasmine Crockett to be together. Now, look, she's got, one thing I would say about her is she's got a personality. And I even said this about Tashara, which is so disappointing. You know, Tashara could be, and I didn't know her really that well at all. I didn't know her at all, but she could be charming, right? She had a personality that wasn't completely something that turned you off if she wanted to. I think Jasmine's got that about her as well. She's just crazy. So I'd love to know. I did text Dennis. He did send me one text about something that was interesting, but I don't feel like I'm free to say what it was. But it was just kind of funny. Anyway, I thought that was weird that was the case. So good afternoon. As we get into a week after Election Day, there's still plenty of things to talk about related to some elections because they have, our friend Michelle Tafoya is on the ballot, I believe, today in Minnesota. And all my friends in Wisconsin are voting for the communist DSA candidate, Francesca Hong. And she's really something. I mean, I cannot believe that she's going to win this primary today. She'll face a guy by the name of Tom Tiffany, who is the Republican. But she doesn't really back off from any of her previous, well, maybe she does a little bit because she said some really, really crazy things. Now she says, well, it was when I was younger and it just, happened because I was naive and all these things. What the hell's her name, Fred? Why can I not find these things? I don't think I have the right audio in here. Can you check here?
We got to bump up those readers.
No, I think, well, the problem is, I told you guys this yesterday, okay? I don't know why. Now it's alphabetizing it. So here she is talking about some of the things that she said in the past, and she was just naive.
I was actually trying to become a sports journalist when I first went to college. So I learned then you have some hot takes, sometimes bad takes on Twitter, and I let my feelings out into the world. And right now, as governor, what I'm most serious about are the issues that voters are telling me they want solutions for.
I like this. This is a little quick hit montage of what she's for and against. I don't think she's against any of these.
Rapid fire. Do you support repealing Act 10?
Yes.
Universal child care?
Yes.
Free school meals?
Yes.
Guaranteed pay leave?
Yes.
Abolishing ICE?
Yes.
We have to dismantle police unions, defund the police.
In the service industry, we are finally having this conversation about, how our industry really did come from it and kind of is rooted in white supremacy.
Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities.
My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. I actually love it.
I don't even know how you can take anyone like that seriously. Right. But here's what I will tell you, and I said the same thing last week with El Sayed, and my old friend Scott Walker is saying the same thing right now. You cannot underestimate this person. Wisconsin's a weird state.
Don't think because she talks about these crazy ideas that somehow it's going to be a cakewalk. This starts the day after the primary as a 50-50 race in a state that historically, since 1990, has gone in all but one elections opposite of the White House.
So that's, historic right there. You don't know what's going to happen. I think all bets sometimes are off. Now, she's really going to be exposed, I think, as a terrible, terrible candidate. One of the things that Tom Tiffany has going for him, I don't know Tom either because I've been gone from Wisconsin for a while. He's a congressman, but I'm telling you, what you'll hear here is the Wisconsin accent, and that plays, I think, a little bit better than Francesca Hong. You listen to the accent here.
Some young people that are falling for the siren song of socialism is I think we should take them back to what COVID did to them. It was big government on steroids, an example that we can bring to them that shows that big government socialism is not the answer.
Socialism. COVID. The lake. That's what they say. It's my favorite story. I had this producer, Jim Kaluzny, when I was doing the morning show at WTMJ. Jim was awesome, really good guy. He brought donuts in, right? He would bring donuts. And we one morning, we were kind of mocking his way of saying donuts. And he was from Cudahy, which is south of Milwaukee. That's like really big accent. He got so pissed off because we told him he had an accent. I do not have an accent. Dude, you got an accent. You say donuts.
He didn't. He got bitter. That's weird.
He was mad that we told him he had an accent. That was like 20-something years ago.
Interesting.
It just sticks up. Then let me go back to Michigan with El Sayed. Now, look, I say these things because, honestly, politics is weird. You don't know who's going to vote. It's turnout, all these things. You would assume that saying stupid things like this would really make a dent into the people who might come out and support you because all this stuff is coming up on El Sayed, like stuff that didn't even come up during the primary because Republicans Mike Rogers and his team would have a very thick opposition research folder, if you will, on this guy. But he doesn't think football is good because it's toxically masculine. Ugh. It's full of toxic masculinity.
Football is very much associated with a particularly masculine and oftentimes toxically masculine culture. And so much of it was about you wanted to be able to get back up and play for your team, and you really aren't allowed to show pain or vulnerability. That's part of the sport.
Yeah, it's a bad thing. That is a bad thing, showing toxic masculinity. So we'll cover that a little bit here this afternoon with a variety of folks. Cassie Smedlie's coming up here, former RNC spokesperson Peder Zane. We have a little preview this afternoon of the BMW Championship, which is next week at Belle Reve Country Club. Ooh. There are some tickets left, and this Sunday is a really cool day because it's free. You can bring the family out there.
Oh, that's nice.
They have the merch tent open. You might ask yourself, why would they do a free event at Belle Reve ahead of the BMW Championship?
Merch tent.
Because they got the merch tent open. And from my experience at PGA events, the merch tent is just awesome. Like, you can spend a half day in the damn thing. It's really kind of incredible. They know what they're doing because you have to walk through all the merch to get to the course. It's very, very specific that way. Oh, my God. All right, I'm going to do this just because I don't have enough time to go off on this Brentwood thing, and I'll get to that just a little bit later. But I heard about this story this morning, and I just had to pass it along because this is nuts. I think Fred might have a little audio from this. Did you hear about the high school football player in Arkansas that had the snake in his helmet?
Whoa.
Okay, so this wasn't just another snake. This was a cottonmouth. So this is at the listen to this, Monmouth High School. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Athletic director Kirk Horton said the staff was left stunned after one of their players brought in his helmet for inspection during the middle of practice. He put it on. He was wearing it during practice, and then he felt something inside the helmet. It was a 2-foot-long cottonmouth. You can see the pictures of how it was kind of, it was tangled up inside. The helmet has a bunch of the material to protect your skull.
Holy.
And they found it inside there. And, a couple of things here. First of all, that the snake's in there. That's crazy. The kid had it on. But it's one of the most venomous snakes that they have.
Yes.
Right? So they put the snake inside a tote bag before animal services from the hospital arrive to take custody of him. But if you look at the pictures from this, it's just, and this guy from Animal Services even says, I've removed a snake out of a car vent, in the engine, purses, backpacks, but never a football helmet. One was new.
And you're saying this kid played practice with a cottonmouth in his helmet.
He put it on his head. It was, kind of snuggled in there, but it was beyond... the top of what his head was touching was more like cushioning. Right. And between that area and the helmet itself, you have a little space. And that's what it did.
This is Mark Cox's worst nightmare. He hates snakes.
I don't mind snakes, but I don't think I like that experience. But, I mean, a couple of people said, dude, buy a lottery ticket. You just, survived a cottonmouth in your helmet.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
That is completely nuts.
I know.
Okay.
You got to see the pictures. I'll share it with you.
Okay, there is an accident northbound 270 past Dorset. And I'll put it up here on X. But it's blocking the two right lanes, and there's a fire truck on the scene and the whole 9 yards. So there is a pretty good jam going behind that. Now, we also have an accident northbound 170. This one is just north of Airport Road. It's blocking the left lane. And watch out for road work. It's northbound 270 around 44, but they do have the two right lanes blocked. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. They do everything from windows to bathrooms, and they give you quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project. Do it today. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, as the show comes to a close, and I'm going to head out to the DoubleTree by Hilton out in Chesterfield because we have the fourth in a series of, and I can't even believe this is true, 5 seminars with the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. They're the official financial planners of this show. And Mark and Annie's and Bob Kershaw, his wife Tammy, will be out there. Thomas Helbig's nephew is Bob, and he's kind of handed it over to Bob, and he's running a great operation. And this is another one of those situations where it's a free event. All we need to know is that you're coming. And it's not too late. If you just call this afternoon, you want to swing out for an hour and 15 minutes, it's not a big time commitment. 314-993-9494. Now, if you're one of those people that didn't have time tonight or you don't like a group setting, some people like the group setting better, you can go one-on-one into the office, and you shouldn't delay because, look, the market has been kind of rocking right now. What happens if there's a correction? How do you know with new tax policy how much money you're going to have in retirement? You have to prepare for unexpected medical expenses and still create an income to support your lifestyle. That's not easy, but if you turn to the Retirement Advisory Group, it's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier, and they're going to kind of walk you through it. No obligation for the event tonight. Just show up, but we have to know that you're coming. 993-9494, retirementkey.com.
Your summer air should feel fresh. That means not full of dust or allergens or whatever spring left behind in your vents. Your air ducts are the lungs of your house. If they're dirty, you're breathing it in every day. That's where Zero Res comes in. You can get this month only 20% off air duct services and products. That is cleaner air, better efficiency, and a fresher home, guaranteed. Call 314-474-2020 or visit ZeroResSTL.com.
When it comes to family law, a lot has changed in recent years, so assumptions can be costly. If you see or sense a change coming in your family life that could have legal implications, it's important to know where you stand. Getting good legal advice early is never a bad idea. I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. If you or anyone you know is facing a family law issue, start with a consultation. Visit CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Hey, Sue, remind me, I've got a great backup plan for the whole team here. Like Fred, you, me, and Ethan. James is working today. Ethan's off. But I'm going to teach you this afternoon how we can become political consultants and become grifters, just like the consultant class.
Grifters?
I'm sorry. No offense to my consultants out there, but I have a great idea.
All right.
You know, you never know how long this media thing's going to last, right?
Yeah, that's
Radio,
true.
what's that? But I do have a plan for us. I've been thinking about backup plans, and I was inspired today, Sue.
Okay.
And I think you can come along for the ride.
Okay.
So, because I'm generous that way.
Yeah, you are.
By the way, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at 4 o'clock. Went to the game last night with Steve Butts. He had Crawford Butts Insurance Night at the ballpark, coming off a bit of a stinging defeat a week ago in his state. He's fine.
Okay.
He's going to do great. But what I'll tell you is the fans wanted you and Fred there last night, too.
Oh.
So we had some fans, including Steve's sister and his brother-in-law. So they're real big fans of the show, so we're happy to hear that. Cassie Smedlie is with us this afternoon, former RNC spokesperson. Big election day in several states. How are you this afternoon? Hope all is well.
I'm doing well, and I was just in Wisconsin over the weekend. You know, it's kind kind of my adopted home state. I married a northern Wisconsin guy. So it was all the talk this Tuesday's primary. So, yeah, we're excited to see how it unfolds tonight.
We have that in common, too. You know, she's from the Kansas City side of the state. I don't think I knew that about your husband. My wife's from Milwaukee. I spent 9.5 years in the People's Republic of Wisconsin. So I have a lot of ties up there. I was there. You know, it's funny. I tell this story every once in a while. It's a really smart thing to do. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, of course, with your career. But when I was new up there in Milwaukee, this is late 90s, right? Let's say 98, 99. I was doing the morning show at first on WTMJ, and there was a young politician that represented an area, I think it was Wauwatosa, and he called me up. He was kind of known a little bit as being a media whore, if I'm being honest, but he calls up, he goes, hey, we should have breakfast sometime. Well, that was Scott Walker. And he was only about 28 years old, and he knew what he was doing. I mean, that was a smart thing. I don't know why more politicians don't do that because, Cassie, you know, it's human nature. Once you meet someone in person, you can't say as many mean things probably about them as you might want to because you might have a relationship there. So that's happened to me over the years. It happened here with Mayor Slay and with Roy Blunt. People reached out to me and said, hey, let's get together. So I was certainly co-opted by that at the time, but I thought it was an interesting little Wisconsin story. Now, we're a long way away from Scott Walker. He was declared a radical by the D's in Wisconsin for some of the things that he was doing, and now you have Francesca Hong. I don't even know where to start with her, Cassie.
I don't think many people do. Even the establishment Democrats didn't see her coming. They dismissed her as recently as this spring, said, no, she's not really anybody that's actually going to make waves other than she might be a little bit of a spoiler, but we certainly don't think she'll be our candidate. And you're right. Those teachers unions who were out there protesting against Scott Walker and did the big Scott Walker recall might be wishing for him or someone of his kind right about now, because it's really wild. She's expected to sail to victory tonight. Now, it could be like last week's primary in Michigan, where Al Sayed barely beat Haley Stevens, even though the polls said it was going to be a walk away for him, but he was going to run away with it rather. So it might be close, but the nearest competitor, who the sitting senator, Tony Evers, is actually out campaigning with, that guy, I think his name is Conley, he dropped out. So the sitting governor is campaigning with a guy who technically dropped out of the race because Tony Evers is so concerned about Francesca Hong's electability in November. Think about that for a second. So they've got a real quagmire up there, and Democrats writ large. You talk to Democrat friends and they say these DSA candidates are just outliers. It's just in certain deep blue areas of the country, and yet this is example number 4 where one of them is about to win and be their nominee going into November. And the Democrats are pretending not to claim them, say they're not one of us, but they're running on the Democrat ticket. And so I said this on Fox yesterday, either Democrat voters, what's their option? Because if the Democrat establishment is saying they're not of us, so who do they go vote for? Do they just stay home? In which case, that's a very good day for Republicans, and specifically Tom Tiffany running for governor on the Republican side in Wisconsin. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to yield that many seats. So they're going to have to co-opt this as their platform. This DSA platform is now the Democrat Party.
She's trying to back off from it and say, oh, I was young, I was naive. But, I mean, it's really hard. And this is happening in Michigan, too, with El Sayed. There's more and more stuff that's coming out. I played the cut a few minutes ago about football being, too full of toxic masculinity. That's going to play well on Saturday afternoons up there in Michigan when Mike Rogers puts some ads out. But having said all that, I think it would be wrong to assume that in Wisconsin or Michigan that these are automatic defeats over these crazy candidates, because this is a strange time. People are coming out maybe in different ways. Younger people love this DSA stuff. I mean, I'd like to sit here as someone who lived in Wisconsin for 9.5 years, even though it's a purple state, and say there is no way that someone like her is going to be the next governor of Wisconsin. But Tony Evers himself is pretty crazy, and there is a liberal streak in many parts, as you know, Madison in particular, which is like Moscow. So I don't think you want to take anything for granted.
No, that's absolutely right. And to be very honest, while we're talking about her tweets wanting to cancel Thanksgiving, abolish the Senate, defund the police, and she's having to do this apology mea culpa tour on that. But the other thing she's talking about, and this is part of the DSA playbook, she's talking about cost of living. She's talking about how everything is just more expensive than it should be. And while her prescriptions I might wholly disagree with to what ails us, she's talking about it. And every candidate on a ballot this cycle has to be honest with the voters that they see that and feel that too. Now, the question is, well, why are things more expensive? Well, okay, give me a minute. It's from the Biden administration, all those decisions made. And when you had Tony Evers as governor of Wisconsin, he went right along with all of these big government programs that ran up our debt and were detrimental to our lives and livelihood. So why continue with that pattern? We need a Republican. That's kind of the argument. But you can't ignore it. You can't tell people they're not feeling what they're feeling, that their pocketbooks aren't lighter.
Well,
because that's the Biden playbook, and we know how well that turned out for them.
I think some Republicans have done that, unfortunately. Now, gas is below $4 a gallon. Here, it's about $3.79. It was $1 cheaper 6 months ago. But, if we're not in the fours, there might be a little bit more, less discomfort, if you will. But I think at their peril, Republicans ignore the cost of living issues. You can't tell people that, and Matt Walsh has been interesting on this. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but he's very against the war, and he's sort of preaching the message that the economy matters, stupid, and we should be talking about these things and not just be against the DSA candidates. Because to your point, their message is appealing, and if they moderate it, they're going to get the advantage of not having the media play the bites from before and be more empathetic to them. So that's a disadvantage for Republicans as well. So I think it's going to be fascinating to watch these races moving forward. Now, I don't know, are you following Minnesota very much? I know that Michelle Tafoya, who's a friend of the show, is doing quite well up there on the Republican side. But, that's pretty tough for a Republican to become governor. Not impossible, I guess, in Minnesota, but a much higher hill to climb, I would think.
Well, of course, she's running for Senate, and so she looks like she's going to have a good night tonight. But for governor, Amy Klobuchar running unopposed on the Democrat side, and who looks to be the winner who's at least running ahead in the polls tonight, the likely winner for Republicans for governor, Mike Lindell, my pillow. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough, Mark.
Yeah.
And that's going to be tougher for Michelle Tafoya. A Republican, Minnesota is, I have cousins, I have family who live in Minnesota, great, nice people, but that is the Twin Cities, that area, that I've never felt a bluer city or state that I've been in, and that's including New York. It is so far left up there. They've got their work cut out for them, and God bless Michelle Tafoya for doing it. I do think she brings a common sense, and she's running a really great campaign. But it used to be when I'd go up to Wisconsin working for Sean Duffy, whose district bordered Minnesota, they were, different flavors of vanilla. You had Scott Walker in Wisconsin, so you got lower taxes, so people worked in Minnesota but lived in Wisconsin. Now, that's the Communist Republic of Minnesota. And it's
nuts.
Very different.
It really
is.
It's
really wild. So that's going to be really tough for I wish her the best of luck, but that's not on my bingo card for our path to the majority in any race.
Is it I don't even know the polling. Is it expected that you have Angie Craig, who is a congresswoman, and then you have the Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan? I would assume that she would probably be the favorite for the Democrats, and then Michelle would win for the Republicans, even though she has that name recognition. You're right. Minnesota's probably not going to go, in this race. It is an interesting I think both Wisconsin, well, look, throw in Michigan. Those are all very unpredictable states. Missouri used to be a purple state. We're not anymore. We're solidly red, but they're very purple, and it depends on, primary elections, as you know, or even a general election in an off year is very different. I always kind of go to Wisconsin as an example of what happened in 2016, because if you look at the numbers from Wisconsin in the presidential race, even though President Trump hated John McCain and ripped on John McCain, he only got a couple thousand more votes than John McCain did in Wisconsin. On the other hand, Hillary Clinton received fewer than 250,000 votes than Barack Obama. So in that particular case, people did not come out for in that race because they didn't like Hillary. So that was one of the things that happened. So likability does play a role.
Streaks.
Yeah, right.
Completely.
They do.
One little fun tidbit I remember, again, I was working for Sean during that time, and we saw polls that showed very early on, when it was still a wide open primary on both sides, support was for Donald Trump and for Bernie Sanders. nothing for Hillary Clinton in Northwest Wisconsin. And people didn't believe it. And then, of course, election night rolls around, and that was exactly it. They would have had better luck in Wisconsin with Bernie Sanders than with Hillary Clinton.
Is Tom Tiffany, is that Sean's old district?
You got it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he's, I've been gone from up there for 20 years, so there's not a whole lot of political types outside of a few members of the legislature that I still know up there. But we're keeping an eye on Francesca Hong. And look, Syed and Hong will be the gift that keep on giving for talk show hosts, but dangerous for the country. Cassie, thanks for coming on this afternoon. I appreciate it.
That's right. Good to break it down with you,
All right,
Mark.
we'll
Thanks.
see you. Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Couple of incidents at this hour. There is an accident northbound 270. Pardon me. Yeah, my cough button
You need me to
still
come in there?
doesn't
You need me
work.
to come in there and do a little help here? See, you got a little coughing issue. We'll get her through. It's the worst feeling ever, right?
Yeah, it really is. Okay, thank you. And it was just south of 70. They had the right lanes blocked. It looks like we still have a slow go in that area. And the left lane is still blocked on northbound 170. And this one is just past Airport Road. They've got the left lane blocked there. Now, the other jam I'm seeing on the Missouri side is out west, 64 westbound at the 70 split. That's just due to road work and the time of day. Now, there's also a jam building on southbound 141, and this is as you head toward 21. So if you're in that area, expect a slow go. On the Illinois side, the eternal jam on eastbound 64, 157 to 159, and westbound 5570 approaching 111. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. It's their 50-year anniversary, so congratulations to them. They've got a great business with quality products and outstanding service. Contact them today and let them show you why 50 years is just a start. Sue Thomas with Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, let's talk about Game Day Men's Health. And guys, they have great options for you at Game Day. We call it the Game Day difference because it is just a different experience. It's a much better experience than other clinics. And if you're interested in testosterone replacement therapy and optimization, they got you covered with a free 1-hour visit. They'll do some blood work and then come up with the plans. And by the way, if you don't like needles, they have different options for you. There's testosterone pellets. I learned about these very recently. And they offer like a slow-release solution for hormone balance over months at a time. They're actually implanted beneath your skin, and there's like steady testosterone delivery, so you don't have to have as many doses. You still get that boost in energy, mood, and drive with minimal disruption. And Matt Lawrence, who runs the clinics out in O'Fallon, Missouri, and in Chesterfield, well, he and his team can walk you through all that. Now, maybe it's not TRT. Maybe it's GLP-1s or peptides and vitamins or sexual wellness and ED treatments that really, truly work. Game Day can help you with that as well. And it all starts with that 1-hour visit. They pride themselves on the timetable. You'll get results back quickly with the blood. And then there is no one-size-fits-all. Maybe it's TRT. Again, maybe it's a B12 injection, something along those lines. But they'll guide you through it in a very exceptional way. You're going to love the customer service. Game Day Men's Health. Book your appointment today at GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Hey, it's Annie with my friend Stewie here. Stewie, interest rates, I think they're eking up a little bit. Buyers are still looking to purchase homes, though. What are you doing to help these purchasers be the most competitive they can be?
Annie, this is a great opportunity. We're running this awesome promotion. So we know the interest rates are climbing. We know those bidding wars out there are crazy. So what are you going to do with the higher interest rates? How are you going to afford the house? What are you going to do? Here's the answer. We're going to give you 1% less than whenever you lock the loan is for the first year you're making those payments. You lock the rate at 6.5%, you're going to get 5.5%. Whatever the story is, that first year, you're paying 1% less. This gives you an opportunity to afford the house now. Later on, we all believe rates are going to drop. You can refinance with the bagel loan, no closing costs. Do that before the adjustment back to the regular interest rates. You're way ahead of the game.
You're talking to Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage, and that bagel loan, it's a must-get, no closing costs. Call him or text him directly. 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Things in Washington, D.C. may seem unsettled at times by their lack of progress. But one department in the U.S. government is progressing. That is the IRS. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. The IRS is in full function to collect on unpaid taxes. If you've been putting off a tax problem, it's time to call the Lance Story Law Firm and get it resolved. Don't think the government is too busy to focus on my issues. Too many of my clients thought the same. So if you owe back taxes or haven't filed returns in years, it's time to call the Lance Story Law Firm and finally resolve your tax issues. Remember, if you have tax problems, you have legal problems. Call the Lance Story Law Firm. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Or call 314-260-6120 or visit landstorylaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
3:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
250 years of capitalism, private ownership, and rugged individualism. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk. Sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
We tell pregnant women don't even have a glass of wine. And yet we coerce them, convince them, sometimes mandated them to get an experimental gene therapy as early as the first trimester. This is truly sick.
I think Senator Ron Johnson there from Wisconsin is absolutely right. Now, let's go back to 2021 when Tony Fauci was saying this. He's responding, Senator Johnson is, to new text messages that were revealed because Senator Paul and his committee got a hold of not only the emails, but also Tony Fauci's phone.
Thousands of people women who are pregnant, having gotten the vaccine following the EUA. There have been no red flags of anything that anyone would be worried about. There are severe adverse outcomes for mother and baby during COVID-19 infection. Therefore, it is extremely important for pregnant women and women planning to get pregnant to get vaccinated. If you look at the data, George, there doesn't seem to be a problem at all. There have literally been tens and tens of thousands of women who are pregnant who've gotten vaccinated. There are no red flags, nothing that looks like there's going to be any problem.
Well, that's the opposite of what happened in the revelations from the text message from yesterday. Peder Zane is back with us this afternoon, editor at Real Clear Investigations. He writes for Real Clear Politics. Peter, how are you? I know you wrote about the Fauci cover-ups. Pretty crazy that this stuff is coming up. It's re-angering me. We talked about all this nonsense years ago. It's making me pissed off again.
It just, is confirming what we already knew, which was that they were completely dishonest about what was going on. And what's amazing, though, is the range and depth of it, that they weren't just, being deceptive about the origins of COVID or, mask mandates or lockdowns or the logic of social distancing. It was so many different things that really affected our health. And it is totally maddening. And also, as I wrote in my column, it reminds us again, Joe Biden issued a pardon, a preemptive pardon for Fauci in the final days of his presidency. So you think about the idea of a preemptive pardon. So that's saying that I'm going to act now because the duly elected president who's going to follow me, I don't trust him, which is unbelievably undermining the rule of law. And then you got to ask yourself, if he's doing a preemptive pardon, and remember he dated it from 2014. So what did he, or probably not Biden, he probably didn't know anything, but his advisors know about what Fauci had done during all of those years to start the clock then? And my guess is they knew a lot, and they continue to lie to us to defend him and what they did.
Now, I feel like there's only a sliver of the country that is aware of a lot of this stuff because of the way that the media does or does not do its job. Look, a lot of us would highlight a lot of these things over the course of years, certainly some of it when it was happening and the contradictions. But, in the aftermath of what happened a couple weeks ago on Capitol Hill, I think most of the legacy outlets just played this off as the Republicans are harassing this poor old doctor who saved millions of lives, and he did nothing over the course of his career but public service to the American people and ignoring the absolute outrageous, nonsense that went on. I mean, the list goes on. This is really, in a fair media world, Peter, this is like ripe for journalism to go real deep here and uncover a lot of things. And there's only been a few people like my friend David Zweig, who wrote a book about this, that want to do that. But most of these people just want to kind of move on. Oh, you know what? Tony Fauci's a hero. He saved lives. Why are you picking on him?
So, there are probably two aspects to that. One is they were all defending him, so they don't want to have to admit that they made a mistake. But I think the larger thing is that they liked what he did. And what did he do? He didn't simply, which again, I understand, a public health official can't say, well, we're not certain, there's a lot in the air. You need to be decisive and say, we believe this is the best course. I get that a little bit. But what he really did was he instituted the command and control economy and culture that the left wants. And the real reason they're defending him, besides not then having to defend their defense of him all those years, but they like that what happened during COVID is a model for what these democratic socialists and others in the Democratic Party, the kind of society they want, where they are in control of everything, and they decide what we hear, what we think, and what we do. And I know that sounds a little extreme, but that's the thrust of it, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think you're wrong about that. And, one of the things that's utterly confused me over the years is, and this is even on more display after what happened a couple of weeks ago and even yesterday with the text messages, is why is this a partisan issue? I mean, I think you could be someone on the left, and I do think we have some of those people here, maybe common sense people in my listening audience who would vote for Democrat candidates, but would also say, wait a second here, we were forced to do things and show our vaccination cards, and some people lost their jobs, and military members couldn't serve. You wouldn't let people go to the beach without a mask on. You made up this 6 feet, apart thing. I would hope that there'd be a fair amount of people out there that would think that way. But again, part of the problem is getting them the information, because if they're just writing off this stuff as right-wing kooks, Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, nothing to see here, then most people won't take this seriously. And they should. They should really take it seriously so we don't ever make a mistake like this again.
I think the issue there is that the Democrats have successfully made Republicans beyond the pale, so that if you are a Democrat, you don't feel that you have a choice. And so you are never going to go over to the other side. And part of the problem then is that if you admit that your side did wrong, if you say we really need to look into, what was going on here, you then are bolstering evil.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that's what they've done. They've just made it so that, geez, I'd like to agree with you. I'd like to do that. But, until, we get rid of Trump and every Republican, anytime I admit a fault on our side, I'm strengthening the devil. And that's how they see it.
Yeah, well, and some of this applies, I think, to some of the gender nonsense, too, because I've asked this question. I remember I asked Riley Gaines this question. Why is it that nobody, now we're seeing a little pattern of this exists where some people are saying that, but why is it so impossible for some of these people out there, the real extremists on the trans issue, to admit at least the fairness in sports issue? And her answer was, and it's along these lines, well, then the whole house of cards collapsed, because just saying someone is a woman because they declare a woman, that would then fall apart as well. So they have to stick with the narratives and the hardcore aspects of that, because then the whole argument collapses, which kind of makes sense. And that's, to a certain extent, what's happening here as well.
Well, so again, there are two groups. There's the people at top who are pushing all of this stuff, who are huge ideologues. And so when you see in the WNBA these women defending men playing women's sports, but their ideology is inclusivity, their ideology is all the structures of the traditional family, because a lot of them are lesbians or whatever, were opposed to me, want to limit my rights. So from their perspective, all of the fundamentals are down. You then have the people who are just the followers, who just, again, can't give in on things, because then you're going to empower the other party. So there's a small percentage of the left that truly believes all this stuff. And they have been handed the reins by the common sense people, the people who still have common sense, who are unwilling or unable to break with them. Maybe this democratic socialism will be the final.
Maybe it gets exposed a little bit more. Right. I would hope so as well. Peder Zane here, editor at Real Clear Investigations. Let me just take a step back here and get your thoughts on something else. And it's kind of weird that, we're not talking about it all the time because we're still in a war with Iran and the president still is making threats and saying we can't have a nuclear weapon. We're going to hit them hard. They keep launching whether it's drones or missiles. So what is your current, thought process on this situation with Iran?
So it goes back to how I'm seeing American politics, and that is the people of this country have got to develop a spine, and they've got to have a longer attention span. And in my opinion, we're here now, and you can say we shouldn't have gotten there in the first place. We basically have a siege, and a siege is going to take a while, and it's not really costing us all that much. Gas, oil is at $80 a barrel, and what we have to do is wait this out. And if we can have a little bit of resolve, we can suffocate that regime. I don't know what's going to happen, but they are in deep, deep trouble. And it doesn't mean, look at Cuba. They've been in deep trouble for a long time. But we can strangle them. That's my belief, is that we've got
I hope you're right.
We don't need to bomb them. We just have to starve them.
Yeah. Well, and by all accounts, to your point that the economic indicators and the blockade has worked, but it just seems like the deadline or the timeline, the time frame just continues to unwind further and further. And I'm not convinced we're not going to be talking about some of the same things here in the beginning of November. Peder Zane, always great to have you on, though.
Yeah, he's ended the war 9 times. Give him 9 Nobel Peace Prizes.
There you go. All right, Peder, thank you.
Thank you.
I will see you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Couple of incidents already. Accident northbound 170, and this one is past Airport Road. They've got the left lane blocked and a pretty good jam going behind it. It looks to me like they've just cleared the accident northbound 270 approaching 70. So that jam should start to unwind. We're seeing the usual volume appear westbound 6440 approaching Hampton and eastbound slowing at 270. Westbound picks up again at Prospect. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets Olive through Doherty Ferry and again at Gravois. Southbound 141 is pretty slow, headed for 21. And on the Illinois side, we're fine on the bridges. 64 eastbound slow, 157. Through 159. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Why pay full insurance when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty, 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 liberty.
Thinking about a flooring project? I have a great way for you to get started, and that's by going to Michael's Flooring Outlet. Maybe just going by the website, because IGotFloor.com is a tremendous website that offers you a lot of inspiration, gives you some reviews of what they do at Michael's, shows you some of the products, gives you the ability to order some samples online, and they just knock it out of the park in all 3 locations. Now, they are closed on Sundays, but if you need new flooring and you want to talk about the best way to meet those needs in your home, given your family situation, your budget, the technology that you're interested in, that depends on whether it's soft flooring or hard flooring, they will get you covered at Michael's. And if you go into one of those 3 locations, you'll find the depth of knowledge, the experience that is there for decades. Mike Reynolds is very proud of the team that he's put together. They have locations in Creve Coeur, in Darden Prairie, also in Old Town St. Peter's, the legendary store there on the website, IGotFloor.com. It's Michael's Flooring Outlet. Check them out today. Tell them we sent you over.
Never miss a beat. Take 97.1 FM Talk with you. The voices you trust, Mark Cox, Annie Fry, Mark Reardon, Scott Jennings, and more are just a tap away with the Odyssey app. Stream 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
When my wife and I got married after both graduating law school, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. Ultima had to give me her gas card just to drive home. We never could have imagined that one day we would have the largest injury firm in the world and $25 billion in money collected and counting. As good Catholics, we had 4 children fast. They all work in the firm today. Our family protecting yours. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. But our greatest gift was years away, grandchildren. Today we have 6 and counting. It's the greatest joy that we have ever experienced. I think about them all day long. Our family promises to protect your family should you need us. Call us. It's easy. Visit forthepeople.com and make sure you hug your grandchildren. God's final gift to us. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group, to learn how to create your worry-free retirement. We'll meet August 11th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and wondering how to turn your 401k and IRA into a worry-free retirement? Would you like to learn the strategies that give you market growth but protects you from market losses at the same time?
Would you like to get a free personalized retirement income plan? And did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to create a worry-free retirement? If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Have a worry-free retirement. Join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the DoubleTree Hotel in Chesterfield, Tuesday, August 11th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Our good little viral soundbite today from the DSA co-chair with an interview here, just getting a little stumped on the issue of defunding the police.
It says defund police on the website. That's your goal. And also to get rid of prisons and jails, correct?
Yes.
So if my daughter is assaulted and raped, is there any agency that would seek to find her assailant and bring him to justice?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
What
Absolutely.
would it be if not police, and where would he be if not a jail?
So I guess I really want to avoid getting kind of caught into these hypotheticals and talk more about the reality that we're actually facing right now, which is that we're spending absolutely outrageous amounts of money on police and policing.
Yeah, in other words, I can't answer the question, which is
I don't
perfect.
have a plan.
No, when they're pressed on these things, there really isn't a lot there.
Ridiculous.
Well, they all say the same thing too. It's like Francesca. Well, my positions have evolved. Like I even heard El Sayed say today, because he was asked about, Piker and the 9/11, America deserved it. Well, that was just a dumb comment. Even Hassan knows it's a dumb comment. Really? He hasn't backed down from any of that.
No.
None of that up until campaigning this past weekend. All right, here's how, Fred, I have great news for you, okay?
Okay.
Into your next, because we're all wondering, what's our next step? Will it be retirement? Will we have to work through retirement because,
Yes.
we just don't know. We don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. The unknown, you don't know if there's going to be another pandemic. But, some of the people we know, Fred, and Sue knows these people, do political consultants. They do pretty well for themselves. And one of the great things about my friends who are political consultants, it doesn't matter if they win or lose. They still get paid, which I
like
think
the
is an awesome
weatherman.
deal. Yeah,
Yes.
the weatherman. They get paid. Even if your ass kicked, you get paid.
The former
you get paid
mayor
pretty well.
is doing it too.
The
right?
former mayor, Sherr Jones, is
Yeah.
doing that, right? So check this out, because I think we could probably get our heads together here and solve some problems. That's what I'm all about, is solving problems, helping people. You guys know this, right? So here's a story from our local paper that was posted a few hours ago. It says Brentwood, which is, I think folks around here know it's right next to Clayton, by the Galleria over there. The city government here is set to shell out almost $70,000 for a redesign of its logo over the next 2 years. Brentwood has already paid consultants working on the project more than $10,000 since July. But the story says several residents last week said that they had never heard of the redesign or thought it was a waste of money. Nita Paulson says, if I had known about it, I would have said no. We have better things to do than redo a logo. The story says the city has pitched the project as a collaboration with community members. Michelle Boyer, Brentwood spokesperson, who no doubt is overpaid. I promise you, the PR positions in these communities, they pay pretty well, and I don't know really what they do. She says that public engagement is a central aspect of the logo redesign and that the cost of the project will be spread across 2 years, lessening its impact on the city budget. Her quote is, "For current residents, a strong visual identity can reinforce pride in the Brentwood community and create excitement about where Brentwood is headed." So here's what I'd say, and I think that there's people listening right now that would probably have the same instinct. $70,000. I'll do it for $50,000.
Yes.
I'll do it for $50,000, okay? And I'm going to save you in Brentwood a ton of taxpayer dollars. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use, what's that stuff called that George always talks
AI?
about? What does that stand for?
Yeah, artificial intelligence.
So do you think that if I used ChatGPT or Gemini or something like that, and I said a bunch of things and I fed it into the AI, you think the AI would kick me back some logos for cities? Because I guarantee you it would. And a bunch of idiots like those of you who run the government in Brentwood could get in a conference room, and I'll even treat you, because you're paying me $50,000. I'm going to have to split some of this with George. George will come over with me and Fred and Sue. So that's $25 a piece.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's not bad. We'll get $25,000 a piece,
All
right? No, wait.
That's $3. That's for $2. We've got $3.
We got to cover George somehow, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly our money
we'll
is
figure
shrinking.
It out. Maybe we got to go $60,000.
Not to be rude, but we don't need George. You can go
We can do
online.
it.
You know, I mean, your wife designing T-shirts online, but Mike does it online. We could just come up with a logo.
That's like 17 for each of us, right?
Yes.
Before
Didn't you
taxes.
just do this yesterday online yourself?
So what was funny about that is my friend Jeannie Sullivan, who sort of dabbled with, there were some text messages coming in from Democrats, of which she is not, and they were asking for volunteers and stuff. So she sort of played along for a little while. I think it was like emails too. Hey, would you like to be a Democrat volunteer? So now she got a message last week saying, hey, Jeannie, we are recruiting people for, like school board positions and, Baldwin mayor. So all I did was, and I don't even know how to use AI that well, but I said, give me a sign that says Jeannie Sullivan for mayor. And at first they spelled it wrong. And then I said, okay, spell it this way and do the same thing. And it was great. It was a sign, and I created it in like 30 seconds or something like that. But honest to God, in an era of AI, do we need to be spending as a municipality like any money on something like this? I can make a case that a city's logo might be important and you'd want to spend a little time on it, but they point out that this is not the only municipality that does this. In 2004, see, they've done it before. That's the other thing. They did this a long time ago, and it cost $90,000. Oh, no, wait, hang on. 2024. This is for St. Louis County, all right? So, wait, I don't want to go back 20-something years. 2 years ago, St. Louis County unveiled its new logo with, I guess there's like a hot pink background. I've never really seen that one. So you couldn't even tell me what it is, right? Most people couldn't even tell you what it is. They spent $90,000.
You know what they should do is take $90,000 and make a website that works.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh no, this gets better or worse depending on the way that you want to look at it. In June, and by the way, this is where I can rip on the Post-Dispatch. And I do a lot. But this is where journalism becomes valuable.
Yes.
Because people need to know this stuff, right? In June, Maplewood was they announced they were spending $185,000 on updating its new logo. Maplewood gave $40,000 to the consulting firm. See, that would be you guys, right?
Oh, I mean, that's a great deal.
$140,000 to put the branding on city uniform signs and vehicles. Brentwood says that it wanted to do it when officials began searching for a way to create a new visual identity that would honor Brentwood's history. What a complete joke. They gave this to a North Carolina-based consulting firm. What? Fred and Sue and I are right here in St. Louis.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
And, if you're a private company and you want to spend that money, great. Get a real artist and get it done. But when you're spending other people's money, come on. Northbound 170, there is an accident past Airport Road. It started in the left lanes. They've been trying to get that out of the way. We have a jam past 70. Westbound 70, not that bad. But 64 is already lined up Kings Highway out through McCausland, eastbound at 270 and westbound at Prospect. On the Illinois side, 64 eastbound jams approaching 159. And 55 is in pretty good shape. Look for some volume southbound 270 on the Missouri side, approaching 40. In pockets down through 21. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. And right now, they've got a home refresh rebate. Call now and get $500 back on a qualifying garage door with a qualifying purchase. Must be made by September 30th. Visit overheaddoor.com to learn more and schedule a free estimate. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, it's Tuesday, and that usually means, well, it does mean Tech Talk Tuesdays, but we're going to have a pinch hitter. Our friend Ian Sherr is going to pinch hit for George Rosenthal because George had some family responsibilities. But I do want to tell you about what his company does here in St. Louis, and they're big supporters of 97.1 FM Talk. So George is one of the co-founders of ThrottleNet. They've been helping businesses here navigate technology for over 25 years, focusing on security, strategy, keeping companies productive. That becomes even more challenging each and every single day. And cyber threats, as George will tell you, and he kind of exposes this every Tuesday at 5:30, is they're not just a big company problem. Small, mid-sized companies are targeted. They want to make sure that you're safe. I went to the office not too long ago where they do all this, took a tour. Really, it's impressive. And they're moving forward. They keep talking about new technology that's going to protect you as a business owner. So if you'd like to go online to throttlenet.com, put a /971 there, that gives you a free baseline IT security audit. It's a very simple way to get clarity on your risk. You can't really know where you need to go or where you stand if you don't know the baseline. That's why they offer that at ThrottleNet. So get with ThrottleNet. They're the only IT company that backs their cybersecurity with a $500,000 cyber protection program. Get with them today at throttlenet.com.
A common question I receive is, how is the market right now? It just seems so volatile. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. If you want to buy or sell but feel overwhelmed by the whiplash of the market, then let's talk. With over 23 years as a broker, I have the exact experience you need to help you navigate this tricky market. Call me at 314-441-4444. 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than two?
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Suffering from knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, or tennis elbow caused by arthritis, inflammation, or an injury? STL Joint Relief, now open in St. Peter's, offers a non-surgical, non-narcotic solution that can provide lasting relief. Using advanced ultrasound guidance, we pinpoint the exact source of your pain, allowing for precise treatment that targets the problem, not just the symptoms. Best of all, STL Joint Relief accepts all insurance. Learn more and schedule your appointment at stljointrelief.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
2 hours left to vote in South Carolina. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's where Republicans are choosing a new Senate nominee after the death of Lindsey Graham.
I want to get out. I want to meet as many people as possible. I really want to work hard to get to know people and what they want.
Senator Darlene Graham, appointed to finish her brother's term, says she'll work hard to earn votes, expecting to be in a runoff 2 weeks from now, with 10 candidates on the ballot today. 5 other states also voting, and 2 of the most closely watched races have Democrats divided. In Wisconsin, Francesca Hong is trying to become the first Democratic Socialist governor.
I think our policies are ones that are the solutions to deliver for working class people, permanent affordability, so we don't come back to moments like these.
Hong has said she's evolved from some past positions and today denied wanting to cancel Thanksgiving. The outgoing Democratic governor is campaigning with County Executive David Crowley. Congressman Tom Tiffany considered the frontrunner on the Republican side. And in a Minnesota Senate race, Democratic Congresswoman Angie Craig is hoping to top the state's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan.
Flanagan is the more progressive candidate with positions like Medicare for All and abolishing ICE. She served with Governor Tim
walls for nearly 8 years when much of the state's massive fraud was taking place. Craig has tried to capitalize on those arguments by pointing to her record of flipping and holding a longtime Republican district and stressing that keeping this Senate seat blue should be the biggest priority in this race.
Fox's Garrett Henney in Minneapolis, where there were anti-ICE protests after 2 people were killed in deadly confrontations. Craig has said she regrets voting for the Lake and Riley Act. Pennsylvania is now suing TikTok, accusing the social media giant of misleading app stores about the content teen users are exposed to. The state attorney general also claiming the platform is intentionally designed to be addictive. Multiple states have made similar claims in lawsuits. America is listening to Fox News.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil. One simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to metamucil.com for more details.
You're great at protecting your data, but lots of places could still expose you to identity theft.
I thought it was safe.
If that happens, LifeLock gives you a US-based restoration agent who will stick by your side from start to finish. Phone calls, filing documentation, preparing insurance claims, your agent handles it all. In fact, we're so confident restoration is guaranteed or your money back. Isn't it nice to have someone like that on your side? Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
This is shaping up to be our longest stretch of hardcore summer weather. Right now, I'm thinking it's going to hold right through the weekend. Partly cloudy, warm, and humid. 90s this evening, 79 for the overnight low. Wednesday, partly sunny, hot, and humid. Some spot thunderstorms. Nothing widespread, but they could be strong in some isolated conditions. 97 for the high. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, I think, because this is, I think it's written in the official state rules, and when we have a 100-degree feels like temperature.
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
I was looking at the forecast because next week we have the BMW Championship.
Ooh.
And it would be nice to not have 100-degree feels like temperatures, and it looks like we might be in the low 90s. So I don't know what that means, but it's
That's
probably going to
hot.
be, well, it's summer, but low 90s is better than like 98 or something like that. What's
what?
weird is we've had, I feel like the feels like temperatures are a lot warmer compared to the temperature on the gun. Does that make sense?
I totally agree with that. So
Yeah.
I think it has something to do too with humidity.
My favorite
and your
thing, the
dew point.
Yeah, my dew
How
point
close
plays
is
a
it to
role
the
too.
temperature?
Well, look, what's happening with the BMW, I'm really excited about it, and there's an opportunity for those of you who aren't even going to be out there, with tickets to check out the tournament, at least get a preview on Sunday. Vince Pellegrino is with us. He's Western Golf Association's Senior VP of Tournaments, and the BMW is at Belle Reve next week. Hello, Vince, how are you? Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm doing great. A little warm out here, but I'm sure it's going to cool off a lot.
Oh, let's hope so. Look, I cannot wait. I played the course about a month and a half ago. They were already setting up the stands. There were tons of BMWs on the grounds. But let's start with Sunday because I just got the email about this today and was unaware. If you want to take the family out to Belle Reve on Sunday, the merch tent is going to be open. That might be one of the reasons we're doing this. But you can go out there for free Sunday, right?
Yeah, we can. It's the first time we're doing this. We've had just so much great support from the community that it's called our opening drive, and that's on Sunday from 11 to 5. Merchandise tent's going to be open. We're going to have some local food trucks. We're going to have some mascots out here, interactive BMW experiences. We'll have the FedEx St. Jude Championship, which is the week before us, to see who's going to be playing here at Belle Reve. So it's free. We have a junior clinic as well that day, and all the information is on our website. So we're looking forward to kind of kicking off the tournament week with that event.
Vince, when I went through the merch tent during the PGA Championship, it was the most exciting experiences of my life up until that point. I think it was just awesome. I mean, it's amazing how much stuff there is and how big the tent is. So I would highly recommend people spending a little time there. But let's talk about the tournament itself. Are there tickets remaining out there for the actual tournament?
There are. We did sell out on Saturday for our grounds tickets. We've got a couple options for upgraded tickets that day, but the grounds tickets are sold out for Saturday, and quite frankly, Sunday is very close behind it. But, certainly having the top 50 players in the world starting Thursday gives you plenty of opportunity. There is no cut. So the same players that are going to be here Thursday will be here Saturday and Sunday and Friday as well. So there's tickets available. There's hospitality tickets, individual hospitality tickets available on our website, bnwchampionship.com. So we've had just incredible support from not only the golf fans of St. Louis, but really the corporate community with the corporate hospitality. Volunteerism is through the roof. We really couldn't run the championship without the 2,200 volunteers that signed up in a matter of 3 days for the championship. Really tremendous support, and we're looking forward to a great week.
That is amazing how many people signed up, and I think a lot of that was because they had such a good experience. We as a community had such a great experience when the PGA was here several years ago. Let's talk parking just a little bit, because you can't just pull up on the grounds of Belle Reve like you might ordinarily do if you're there for a party or to play golf, but you have a shuttle that runs from a lot not too far away.
Yeah, we do, and I would suggest anybody who's coming out to the championship really, have a plan before you leave the house. General spectator parking is included in the ticket price, so it's part of the ticket price, and that's going to be at the Family Arena. So you can park there or take a short shuttle ride over. There are several traffic restrictions on Ladue Road and in the surrounding community. We do that for the residents, but also to keep folks safe once they get dropped off at the championship. We've got a ride share that's close to the tournament, but I would really recommend going to our website, taking a look at all the options that we have available, and really just having that plan before you leave the house.
Is Monday an off day and then practice rounds start on Tuesday, or am I getting that wrong too?
No, you're right.
Okay.
So Monday's an off day. It's really a travel day for the players. So we're not open to the public that day. But the players will come out here on Tuesday and play practice rounds. They might play 9 holes, work on their game on the range. I think a lot of players, even from 2018, that are in the FedEx Cup playoffs, there's a good majority that haven't played Belle Reve, so they're going to want to come out here, get accustomed to the golf course on Tuesday. We've got a Pro-Am playing on Wednesday, and then, the tournament proper will start on Thursday and Friday.
Well, who's playing in the Pro-Am? Can you give me some names?
Yeah, we've got a few celebrities out there. Ozzy is going to be playing,
of course.
in the Pro-Am, and BMW's got a few more surprises. So we're sending out that information over the weekend, and I think people will be excited about the celebrities that are going to be here next week.
I was lucky enough to play Belle Reve one time with Ozzie Smith, and he takes it very seriously. He's a great golfer, and he's very passionate about it. Look, Vince, I cannot wait myself. I told my folks here, I said, either we're broadcasting live from the BMW or I'm taking the days off. It ended up I'm taking the days off, which I'm fine with, but I'll be reporting back to the crew because I just had I've been to several events, whether it's going back to Whistling Straits and the first PGA Championship they had up there. Been to a lot of other PGA events. I just think the PGA puts on the best events, and for professional golf fans, this is an opportunity. This is one way I would put it. You can get out there early on a tee time, maybe on Saturday and Sunday when you don't think maybe some of these players are in contention because they have the early times, and there won't be very many people out on those tee boxes at all, and you can get really, really up close and personal with big names, and it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, and I would recommend that. Following a couple groups out in the morning, maybe even over the weekend, like you said, and those players who are going out first, aren't really in contention, but they're just tremendous players, and being able to walk and get up close to them. And then, ultimately, what I'd like to do is then, grab a break for lunch and, hang out in our beer garden that we have, or what we have is called the Caddy Yard that really focuses on the Evan Scholars Foundation, the championship. Grab something to eat, and then, plant yourself somewhere to watch, all the players come through in the afternoon. So there's a lot of things for people to do out here. BMW has some amazing car displays, the latest lines of BMWs, but also some interactive things like, putting challenges, hitting bunker shots. We've got a bunch of different things going on at the championship, and when you're not watching golf, there's certainly other things to do.
And also, if you're a BMW owner, what are the advantages? I know some people got tickets, but even if you have your key fob, there's areas you can go, right?
There is. It might be the best location on the golf course outside of the 18th green. It's the 15th green and 16th tee. It's what's called the BMW Owners Pavilion. And if you show your BMW key at the door, they'll let you and a guest in. There's upgraded food for purchase, but great views of golf, air conditioning, just in case it's a little warm next week.
Might be.
And it's just tremendous views of golf. You can see several holes from this location, but it's a nice perk for BMW owners.
So my only complaint is you guys really don't treat the media well. I mean, there's a massage tent inside the media center. That's how could you do that to the media? I always tell people that. I don't know if you have it this year, but for the PGA, they literally had a massage tent for the spoiled media members, Vince. I mean, I appreciate all that, but that's kind of ridiculous. When you think about it.
It's one of those things we had to take away. Everybody was falling asleep in there, weren't reporting on what's happening on the golf course or the charity involved in the tournament, things like that.
Oh, my God. Well, thank you for coming on. I could not be more excited. This is going to be a great week for St. Louis, Vince. We appreciate it. Anything you need to get out to the folks next week, we'll get it on for you. So just let Fred or me know, okay?
That sounds great.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
Take care. It really is going to be a way to, for the whole country kind of to focus on golf. And this, for people who don't know the way this is happening, it's a three tournament challenge. So now you're down to the 70 best players on the planet, at least ranked right now. They'll play in the St. Jude this weekend, and then it's whittled down to 50. And as you heard, there is no cut, so everyone makes it through the weekend. And then I think it's the top 30 for the championship. But the prize pool, even for this, is incredibly high, and you're going to get some of the top players, for all 4 days, which is really kind of cool, too, because, again, you'd lose half the field if it was a regular championship. Now, the field would be much bigger. It would probably be 120 or something like that. So it's less crowded that way, too, which is kind of fun. Big advantage for fans. We're coming back with Sue's News.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we still have some volume on northbound 170. Now, this is headed for Airport Road. This is where we had an earlier accident, and the accident itself has been cleared. It's just taking a while to unwind. Eastbound 70, a little slow, headed into downtown. 64 westbound is lining up approaching Hampton, out through McCausland, and again at Prospect. Southbound 270, some moderate volume at Doherty Ferry and at 55. On the, by the way, southbound 55, some moderate volume near M. On the Illinois side, eastbound 64 slows 157 through 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
License number GL250000615.
You're cooking dinner. The lights go out. You flip the breaker and forget about it.
But what if it keeps tripping?
Trips once, your breaker's doing its job. Keeps tripping? That's a warning. Bad wiring or something worse.
Do people just keep flipping it?
Most do, until they can't anymore.
Call Grasser. We'll stop the trip.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
For over 25 years, Styles Clothing Company has been serving the St. Louis community, and they're just getting started. They offer custom screen printing, embroidery, and promotional items for sports teams, schools, businesses, family reunions, and special events. Quality products and service guaranteed. Styles Clothing Company would like to thank all of its customers. Call now and mention you heard this commercial on this station for 15% off for the month of August. Styles Clothing Company. Call 314-831-6559 or go to stylesclothing.com.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Government shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free Market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall, selling picture postcards in Kansas City, to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the Free Market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high-quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRD.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
Hi, I'm Eric. And I'm Howard. We're the pain guys of Canner and Pintaluga. You already know after an accident to call 911 and then 411. 1-800-411-PAIN.
But you may not know behind the number is an experienced law firm with nearly 100 attorneys working hard for our clients.
Call the pain guys at 1-800-411-PAIN.
Law offices of Canner and Pintaluga, Kyle Conhauser, Esquire. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Offices throughout the U.S. Not all lawyers licensed in all jurisdictions.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. Sometimes it feels like the news is full of things that have never happened before. And that is not exactly true. In fact, it may have happened this very week, hundreds or thousands of years ago. I'm Sally Helm, host of the podcast History This Week from the History Channel. Trade embargoes? Thomas Jefferson tried them. Rent too high? We've been arguing about that for a while. Each episode is proof. The past isn't that far away. Listen to History This Week, available now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tuesday, that means we do in the 5 o'clock hour Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. Every once in a while, we have to give him a break. He's got some family in town. And pinch hitting, number 33. I'm just saying that because it's 5:33. Ian Sherr will be here.
Yay!
Who we love, former CBS Radio and CNET tech expert. He is awesome on all the tech stuff. So that's coming up in about an hour, plus an audio cut of the day.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
You guys, I made a blueberry pie for book club today.
Wow.
And
How'd it turn
I
out?
probably should have. I think yours was better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Well, we appreciate that, but
Yeah.
what was the
It was really
difference?
I just, the berries vary. Maybe
The berries vary.
The berries vary. What I do, I don't know. Sometimes just one comes out better, and you had the better one. I thought I would tell you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't say this, and I do want to say it in all sincerity. So we went last night. I was invited by Steve Butts, who unfortunately lost his race in the state senate last
sorry,
night.
Steve.
They had Crawford Butts night at the stadium, and Alex Rich and Jane and I were all invited, and we were all there hanging with Steve. And the number one question was, "Where's Sue and Fred?" So there's fans.
Look at that, Fred.
Steve's
nice.
Steve's sister and her husband, huge fans of the show. So shout out to them.
Yay,
Thank you
shout
for
out.
listening. But we had a great time last night. You guys were missed.
Thank you. Did you get the food? Did you get to go to the buffet? What was the
Yeah,
situation?
they had this was one of those things where they even had some shrimp in there and a little cheese plate, which was good. I asked Steve where the lobster was. I mean, I was primed with shrimp, but no, the food was good. And it was a good, it was a good night at the ballpark. The Cardinals, actually, I left before they made it close in the ninth. They did make a little run at it, which was fun to see.
Happy National Sons and Daughters Day to both of you. Mark
Thank
has
you.
a couple of boys and a girl. Fred's got some sons. You can reach out. I don't know what. You could just call them and check in.
It's always a good reason to text.
I've been yelling at my 11-year-old all day. So,
Oh,
yes,
that's good.
we've been communicating on this particular holiday.
What's it about? Coming up school or the usual?
I mean, I you know how you have countdowns for Christmas, and we have this little chalkboard thing. I have that for school now.
I understand.
We're down to 13 days, and I cannot wait.
Wait, yeah, that's going to be a big deal, too, because that's just a big year for her. All right. It's also National Presidential Joke Day. Not sure what that means. National Play in a Sandbox Day. National Kinetic Sand Day. Now, I had to look up what that is. And it's sand that kind of holds together.
Yeah.
You can kind of play with it. It does look interesting.
Can I ask a question about a sandbox?
Please do.
Like a sandbox used to be like
yeah.
a staple of a playground,
Yes.
right?
It
But
does not
doesn't seem
exist.
to exist anymore. One of the things that I think would happen is I know cats would go in sandboxes.
Yes.
Right? And they'd pee because they
Yes.
would think it was a litter box.
Yes.
But it's weird how they, like, I'm guessing, I'd love to know, James is here in for Ethan, but I'd love to know Ethan's answer. Like, does he know what a sandbox is? I
Oh,
guess
that
he
is a
would.
good question.
But they used to be everywhere.
Yeah, and really, what were they? What was the entertainment there?
Well, if
we
you
were ripped off.
No, if you were in the sandbox, you would play with trucks and little digger toys and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
just like playing in dirt, but it was sand.
Yeah.
maybe
What
it was
little
for people that
boy doesn't like doing that?
Yeah, that's true.
didn't go to the beach. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, here, we'll give you here's
Here,
a lump of sand.
Get sunburned in the sandbox
That's
here, right?
And you're right about the trucks, right? There were trucks in there, but they do have businesses now that are giant sandbox, but nice sand. I feel like the stuff we got was like crappy sand. This
It
is
probably
like, you know
was.
what I mean? And this is like really nice stuff, and you
Well,
can go and rent out time.
Look, to your point, there is different kind of like sometimes I can't remember which golf course it was I played recently. They redid the sand. They like Belle Reve does this all the time. They'll redo the sand traps, right? And there's different types of sand. And I don't know where it was, but wherever I played recently, like the members were not happy with the new sand.
It's like if you go to Florida and you go to the Atlantic side, it's not that great
I'm
sand. You
to-
go to the you go to the other side.
really?
It's great.
I didn't know that.
white sand.
Yes. Yeah, there's a big
Well,
difference
and then
in
have
your
you ever seen the
sands.
black sand in Hawaii?
Oh, no.
That's pretty cool too.
Is that just ash? Why am I
I don't know
having
what
this
that's like. It's on the
discussion?
Big Island. I don't know. That's a good question.
Huh. It's also National Raspberry Bomb Day, which is bomb with an E on the end, which means it's edible. Oh, delicious. Raspberry bomb, it's like a frozen, it's delicious.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree.
On this day in history, I just thought this is interesting. 92 years ago, it was 1934, and the very first federal prisoners arrived at the island prison of Alcatraz. Dum, dum, dum.
Well,
have you been there? Have you
I
taken the
have.
tour?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All I did was I kind of wimped when I was there. I took the boat tour around it, but I never went to the island itself, which I should have.
The Rock.
Yeah, right.
How was it, Fred? Creepy?
Oh, it was great. It was worth it.
Did you just see empty cells and kind of picture yourself in there and the
Yeah,
Rock?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's why I didn't go. I just want to point that out. But I
It was
mean,
worth it, though.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. And that was in San Francisco Bay, 1934. And then 39 years ago, it was 1987 in St. Louis. And that is the year that MoDOT announced, hey, the Federal Highway Administration is going to designate 64 as Highway 40 as Interstate 64.
Right.
So we're going to now make it so it's been since 1987 and
Wow.
we still call it 40.
That is crazy.
That
well, yeah,
is.
because look, I still call it 40.
Yeah.
I
I do
and
too.
you'll hear me when I'm talking, I'll say 4064, but to me
Yes.
it's still Highway 40. But I can't believe it was that long ago. That is
Yes.
interesting.
And it's 41 miles of Highway 40. That's what they announced. Wentzville to the Illinois state line. That's the section that's becoming Interstate 64. Well, we don't let go of things here. And
well,
then
did you see the whole thing? They dredged up the whole Guns N' Roses Riverport thing in the Post today
Did they? I
because
didn't
it's
see
like
it.
the 35th anniversary and
Oh
Guns N'
my
Roses is
gosh.
coming back. So that's this Sunday, that show at Busch Stadium. But that was a big deal. And we did an amazing interview with Bob McCullough. We
Yeah.
should pull
Oh,
that
did
up.
you
Do you
really?
think we still have that?
What did
I'll
he
look.
say?
Well, he told the story of arresting Axl Rose, how he finally tracked Axl Rose down. And, it was because when bands tour, they have a website now, and they used to have a list of the cities they would go to. So
Wow.
I cannot tell the story as well as Bob. But Fred, if we have that in it was a KMOX profile I think we did. We can snag that and maybe play that on Friday. That'd be good stuff.
And 5 years ago, the City Foundry opened. I love the Foundry. It's right there in Midtown. Didn't you just go to Putt Shack?
I did.
Yeah.
That was on the field trip with my daughter's class.
Yeah,
and that was fun.
It's a cool place. They've got restaurants. They've got all kinds of little shops around there.
They had this Museum of Illusion.
Yeah,
that's actually pretty cool. For kids,
that it is cool, and they have a parking garage, so you can't go wrong.
Not only that, but the parking garage is safe because when I'm there, they have security. I've seen security park in the lots.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Yeah. All right, some showbiz tidbits. Teddy Moore, who played Ralphie's teacher in A Christmas Story, has passed away. She was 79. I didn't realize she was Canadian. But A Christmas Story came out in 1983, so she was only 36 when she made that movie, and they made her look older.
Wow.
Didn't they?
Yeah, I would say.
I just... And she's been in other stuff you may or might... I've never recognized her, but she was in...
What's the actress's name?
Teddy, Tedde Moore.
Okay.
She also played Mrs. Claus in a TV movie, Mistletoe Over Manhattan, and that sort of thing. Oh,
I'm
but
still
she
doing the
sounded
math.
nice.
I'm doing the math in my head.
Yes,
she looked a lot older.
She did.
Oh my gosh, you're not kidding.
I
They
mean,
made her look real old. In that.
Totally.
Yeah.
When she talks about putting his eye out and giving him a low grade on the essay. Backstreet Boys are doing a New Year's Eve show at the Sphere. I don't know why and
that show
it's going to be something.
Has gotten rave reviews.
Has it?
I would see it just because
Good.
I've heard so many good things about it. Yeah, so that does not surprise me. They've hit a home run at Sphere.
And during his residency in Mexico City, Harry Styles has been treating fans to free churros. Just bringing that up for the heck of it. I don't mind a free churro.
He can afford it.
He can. And for the first time in over 15 years, and I don't realize they changed it then, 7-Up is changing its recipe. Now, they say the new version will be hitting the stores soon. It will no longer be lemon lime. It will be lime lemon. Can you say this is a marketing promotion?
New Coke
Yes.
0.2. What in the world?
They're tweaking the formula to be more lime forward.
Yeah, probably because they get their asses kicked by Sprite is what I'm guessing.
And they're doing it across the full lineup. So zero sugar, cherry 7-Up, cherry zero. The new recipe will hit the store soon, and it will say lime lemon on the packaging. Company says they're going to give the spotlight to lime, and they're delivering a refreshing taste experience. 72% of Gen Alpha and Gen Z people want something with a little flair. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. John Hughes came up with the idea for Ferris Bueller's Day Off on February 25th of 85, pitched and sold it on the 26th, and finished the screenplay on March 3rd.
That is Hollywood efficiency at its best, I would say. Wrapping Sue's News on a Tuesday afternoon.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. General Motors has reached a $4.5 billion parts deal as it looks to avoid supply chain disruptions in the future. The revolving purchase agreement includes a company called Procura Auto Parts that specializes in sourcing rare and critical parts. A bank syndicate, including J.P. Morgan Chase and Banco Santander, will prepay suppliers on behalf of GM, and then GM will pay back the company when a part is used in production. There's another leadership change at OpenAI. Brad Lightcap is stepping down as chief operating officer to, quote, start something new, end quote. He added that he is still very much a believer in OpenAI and was excited to help advance the company from a different vantage point. Lightcap was named COO back in 2022. Wall Street with another day of red ink today. The Dow was off 184 points at 53,792. The Nasdaq fell 160 points, and the S&P 500 was down by 25. And that is Your Money Now.
That'll be 84.52.
Perfect. Grab the bags, honey.
Mom, why do you always check your phone before we pay?
I'm just claiming my cash back on the Upside app. Since we're getting the groceries here and we filled up the car on the way, I've already earned enough this morning to pay for that pizza night we're having Friday.
Wait, so the app pays for pizza?
Not exactly, but the cash I earn on stuff we need helps us pay for the stuff we want. It's just a little win for our family every week.
Get more out of your everyday. Upside is the free app that gets you cash back on routine purchases like gas, groceries, and dining out at more than 100,000 locations nationwide. No points, no rebates, just cash back straight to your wallet. Download the free Upside app and use promo code ACT5 to get a $5 bonus on your first purchase. That's promo code ACT5 to get a $5 bonus. Remember, use promo code ACT5.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
I love a clean house. If you do too, you need to get a hold of my friends at Zero Res. Mark Cox here. They're having an end of summer sale. Whether you're looking to clean up before or after your big barbecue or get ready for a late season graduation party, call Zero Res. Celebrate this month with 2 rooms of carpet cleaned and get 2 rooms free. Plus, you can take 20% off air duct services and products. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Ask for the 97.1 special.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is who do you hire. At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group, to learn how to create your worry-free retirement. We'll meet August 11th at the Doubletree Hotel in Chesterfield at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and wondering how to turn your 401k and IRA into a worry-free retirement? Would you like to learn the strategies that give you market growth but protects you from market losses at the same time?
Would you like to get a free personalized retirement income plan? And did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to create a worry-free retirement? If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Have a worry-free retirement. Join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, at the Doubletree Hotel in Chesterfield, Tuesday, August 11th at 6:30. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show at 4:33 sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Still celebrating? Yes, we are. America 250 on 97.1 FM Talk is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Hey, Sue, I might be able to fill you in a little bit more on this later in the hour, but I went down another Idaho murders rabbit hole last night because, I told you that the 3-part series on Netflix is pretty good. Now, they focus on the victims, and they don't really touch on Kohlberger very much, which I kind of appreciated because I don't like to give attention to that guy. But there's another documentary that's on Max, and I pressed go on that last night. And it actually answered questions that were not answered in the other one, which I think are interesting. But I'll kind of give you the details on that coming up here in just a little bit. After the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Andrew Bostom. He wrote a great column in the Free Press. He's from Brown University, used to be a physician there. He's written 6 books, but his latest piece was talking about this shooting that was claimed to be Islamophobic that was nothing of the sort. So it's one of those things that the media, this happens a lot, the media tracks things down, they get headlines, for a weekend or a couple of days, it goes away, and then the truth of the story comes out, and you never really know the truth because most of the media doesn't circle back and correct it. But that's kind of a tale of what Andrew's going to describe after 5 o'clock. Ian Sherr pinch hitting for our friend George Rosenthal. It's Tech Talk Tuesdays, and George needs to be off today, so Ian's going to fill in. I will have an audio cut of the day as well. We have Christian Twiste back with us this afternoon. He has a website which is called Confessions of a Conservative Atheist. We follow each other on Twitter, and there's been a fair amount of interaction. Christian, welcome back. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thank you for having me again. I was looking forward to it all day.
You wrote something about economics, and I want you to kind of do a little bit of a primer for the audience, because last week, and if you weren't on social media, and I did see some of this, but I don't even know if I understood it, there was a lot of stuff going back and forth about a $20 burrito, right? And this kind of went viral because there was somebody that posted about the affordability crisis and talked about a burrito that was $20, and the internet went crazy over that, right?
That's exactly correct. And interestingly enough, this particular, let's call it social media contagion, didn't originate with Democrats trying to target President Trump. It originated with conservatives. Someone over at Turning Point USA named Andrew Colvett is the person that claimed the college student told me that a burrito shouldn't cost $20. That was then picked up by the large influencer Matt Walsh,
right,
who linked it to the war in Iran and opened it with some kind of blanket statement that grocery prices are insane. And then this got picked up among what is, I guess, a new phenomenon, the woke right that we have to deal with these days.
Well, okay. Now, let me kind of say, even though I did not see the original post, I kind of caught up with it, I did see Matt Walsh's comments. And here's what I would say, and this is where we can have an interesting conversation, because my current position is, and it's maybe been this way for a couple of months, is that some Republicans are making the same mistake on the economy that Joe Biden made. And, some of this is because of the war and gas prices, and I think that's what Matt was trying to say. Mm-hmm. But he was also addressing the fact that people, and I think this is happening still, and whether it's perception or reality, it might not matter. But when we go to the grocery store, we're still filling our carts and saying, oh, my God, I can't believe how much this stuff is. A real-life example of this, and Sue, you're not going to be surprised, but I've gone through my stash of Diet Coke. I stocked up on Diet Coke about a month and a half ago because Walmart rolled back prices. The president even bragged about this. Walmart's rolling back prices. So I have a terrible addiction to Diet Coke, Christian, and the cost of a 24-pack has been pretty consistently $14.97, so right around $15, right? Mm-hmm. So they rolled it back to under $10 to $9.97 for almost a month, and I stocked up on that. But that was kind of a nice, little pleasant surprise because that stuff is so expensive. So I think Matt's position is that we need to get off foreign policy and the war in Iran and focus on the economics, which, from an underlying point of view, I think that's smart politically. But your point is also interesting because you're saying, look, we're not looking at the entire economic piece here, and there's some positives happening as well. Is that part of what your point is, I think?
Yeah, I think it would be two parts. First, Matt, I think if that's the point he's trying to make, is most certainly correct. Republicans have not been nearly as focused on the economy as they should be. And to some extent, the Iran war has become a distraction. But on a broader level, to see a prominent conservative with hundreds of thousands of followers outright use the language of the left to criticize the president that they supposedly support is, to me, just beyond the pale. He didn't offer recommendations as to how conservatives should message this. He didn't talk about what conservatives have done and what Trump has done with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and other initiatives. Instead, he took the very language that Zohran Mamdani uses in New York City, and he applied it to the situation. And to me, that language is just so nonspecific that for an intelligent adult to use it, it's both a betrayal of conservatism in a lot of ways, and we can get into that in a little bit, and it's flat out wrong. It's the language of feelings that really doesn't describe the experience that all of us have had. I go to the grocery store, and I'm not happy what it costs either, but as I said to my wife the other day, when my mom was going food shopping in the 80s, I never remember her coming back saying, wow, Christian, I got all these groceries. It was so cheap. People have always complained about the price of products. The question is, what can you constructively do about that? And how do you describe the increases accurately? And to me, at least, these two exchanges, that's all getting completely lost. And we're now just using the less language.
By the way, was it ever real that somebody got a $20 burrito? Because these things have kind of taken off before, and then when you kind of dig into it, you find that there's a little bit of a different narrative. Is that something that was even confirmed?
No, it wasn't confirmed. And if you look it up, you can get a burrito at Taco Bell for $6, at Chipotle for about $10. So if you're spending $20 on a burrito, then you're probably overspending to begin with. I did a little research for the article. The most expensive burrito in history was actually $500.
Wow.
It had that Wagyu A5 beef Dungeness crab, lobster, and shrimp.
That actually sounds
out of
pretty
some,
good. Yeah, it was this place in San Francisco,
fancy,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So like anything else in life, in the United States, under our free market system that conservatives supposedly support, you can choose how much money you want to spend on a product. And if you give me a product that's not a commodity like oil, there is a good chance that any price that's quoted on it can be had much less expensively, or what is frequently a phenomenon is they're quoting the price with the delivery fee from DoorDash, the tip and everything else, and saying that McDonald's cost me $40.
Right. Yeah, well, and I think, by the way, there was an interesting little social media experiment yesterday on Shake Shack. Did you see this? Where the
no.
There were people going through the order board at Shake Shack, and they get to the end. I had audio of this too, but the audio is not even that great. It's just kind of a narration of what they're doing. But they're going through their order. They order a burger and a shake or whatever. They get to the end of the whole deal, and then on some of these places, you're asked if you want a tip, right? So then it says 20. It's funny, they go 25, 22, 20. I don't even think they go 15% on some of these anymore. Anyway, they decline on that. And then what they showed, and they did this a couple of times, is that the prices of the burger and everything adjusted upwards because they declined the tip. Now, I don't know if that was an aberration or if it was just a one-off, but that was quite shocking when I saw that. But, Christian, I think, again, I like Matt, and I know he took a lot of grief for this because I was reading a lot of the comments, and not all of his followers were on board. But I do think that there's this underlying issue with the economy, whether you want to look at credit card debt and some of the things that are happening out there, people unable to tap into the equity in their home because they have low rates and they don't want to refi at a 6 or a 7% rate. There are these things that are happening that make it probably even worse on people, even if the prices might be going down moderately because they're overextended.
Mm-hmm. I completely and totally agree with that. And I'm not trying to minimize the experience that people have had, especially if you're on a budget. It's been a challenge. I'm objecting to the way it was done and the fact that he even tied it into socialists are gaining power, which of course would have the exact opposite effect on prices. And they are not doing it in a way that educates, illuminates, and advances our position. They are essentially just throwing up their hands and saying Democrats are right, price is really high, there's nothing that you can do about this, and it's Trump's fault.
Yeah. Well, from a political perspective,
I don't
right.
get that. I don't get that mentality.
No, and I understand. Like I said, Matt took a lot of grief on that. Any thoughts while I have you here on these elections for tonight, especially Wisconsin with Francesca Hong? Kind of rooting for her, aren't you?
I absolutely am, because I think the one thing going for us is the Democrats are proving to be their own worst enemies in the fact that you've got the Democratic Socialists of America effectively devouring the Democratic Party, and then you've got leaders like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries talking about the big tent and basically accepting the reality that the party is tilting socialist. I think she's probably going to win.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think she is too.
Primaries are a little bit weird in the sense that it's not a representative vote. You've got the partisans on both sides. The Republican Party tilts right, and the Democratic Party tilts left. That leftward tilt has become a lurch off the side of the cliff, and they do appear to be nominating candidates that should be unelectable. So it's my belief that if the congressional ballot maintains that, generic congressional ballot is in that 5 to 6% range, it could be a much better midterm than it should be simply by picking these candidates.
I think there's something to that. Now, there are a lot of factors, and it's real difficult to predict. But, man, when you have El Sayed, look, the soundbite that's making the rounds today, and I'm sure Mike Rogers already has a commercial that is made to roll on the opening, day of football weekend for Michigan State and Michigan, where El Sayed says that, football is too much toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
How about rolling that as a 30-second ad about 5 times during a football game in Michigan and see how people react to that, right?
And then the fireworks quote as well about how we should ban fireworks. And what's also odd about this is these candidates, not only are they too far left for the average, even Democratic voter, they're also just like mean and nasty and scolding, and they don't have a nice thing to say about anybody.
I missed the whole fireworks thing. Was that El Sayed or Hong?
I believe that was El Sayed who said that he wanted to get rid of fireworks. It might have been Hong. I get confused between them because there's so many crazy comments coming out from a daily basis. But the Republicans have an opportunity here that they probably shouldn't have had with historical trends. I mean, it was always a slog to win the House with such a narrow margin, but Republicans really need to capitalize on this opportunity. And to circle back to the beginning of the conversation, I like Matt a lot, too. He's a smart guy. I just think he needs to be better than this with the stakes being what they are, because the slightest difference in these states, they're going to be close races. If the Republicans can band together and get out the vote, they can pick up Michigan. They can pick up Wisconsin. These are potential gifts. And it seems to me like we are in the process of doing what Republicans frequently do, and blowing it.
All right, so let me play one more soundbite here, because this is, you talk about historical trends, and one of the things that I've told my audience with El Sayed and Francesca Hong, don't assume anything. You still have an election to win, and here's what Scott Walker says, the former governor of Wisconsin.
Don't think because she talks about these crazy ideas that somehow it's going to be a cakewalk. This starts the day after the primary as a 50-50 race in a state that historically, since 1990, has gone in all but one of the elections opposite of the White House.
So that's interesting as well. Look, I don't think you take anything for granted. Tom Tiffany, if that's his opponent in Francesca Hong, it's going to be a battle. And Wisconsin has a lot of lefties, especially in the middle of the state. But Christian Twiste, awesome to have you back on the show this afternoon in St. Louis. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great afternoon. Appreciate
you too.
it as
Take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There's a little bit of volume on eastbound 270 tonight, and it's just east of 367 across the bridge, across the Chain of Rocks Bridge. 70 eastbound, a little slow, headed into downtown, but westbound is not bad. Westbound 64 40 is a slow go. It's Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound lines up east of Lindbergh through Big Bend and a little bit at the Poplar Street Bridge. Now out west, 64 is slowing Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. We've got moderate volume along southbound 270 from Olive in pockets, but it goes all the way down through 21. Southbound 170 slow, headed for 64. We're fine on the bridges, but eastbound 64 on the Illinois side slow, 157 to 159. And westbound 5570 is slow in the construction zone, headed for 111. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Termites cause $5 billion in damage to homes and businesses in the U.S. every year. Call Point Pest Control now at 636-798-0023 and reclaim your space from unwanted pests. That's 636-798-0023. PointPestControl.com.
You know, I mentioned getting off the sidelines and either purchasing a home or refinancing. Some people are, staying away because of the rates. Well, look, we're going to guide you into some help here from Stewie Stewart Rosenblum, proud to own and operate Stewart's American Mortgage. You can be helped by Stewart in Illinois and in Missouri. We give you his personal cell number, 314-324-4440. Now, he's got some amazing offers out there. He created the Bagel Loan. The Bagel Loan is called the Bagel Loan because it looks like a zero. You pay zero in fees that other lenders charge for. And when you refi, you pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees. He has had an offer out there for new purchases where he'll discount a 1% rate for the first in a 30-year mortgage. And then on refis, if you go from an FHA to a conventional, same offer. So these are limited time offers. If you're interested in getting cash from your home and you think it's impossible, it's not. Stewie can guide you through it. It's at very least worth a text and a phone call. He's been doing this for 30 years. His whole goal is to save people money. He's super interesting and can explain all this stuff to you in a very simplified way. So Google the Bagel Loan or call or text his cell phone 314-324-4440, NMLS number 226-715.
Mark Cox here. Join me for breakfast Friday, September 11th from 5 to 9 a.m. at Chicken Ellie's in Eureka. We're raising funds for Focus Marines Foundation. Proceeds go straight to supporting our veterans. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Many of you know that my inspiration for becoming an accident attorney was my brother Tim, who was rendered a quadriplegic at age 18. I didn't know what a personal injury lawyer was or what they did, but I soon did. Tim was treated terribly by the insurance company, and I became enraged. It was a constant delay and deny. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Tim later worked with me for 27 years. Last year, my hero died at age 65. You can see my eulogy for him by visiting mybrothertim.com. He was one hell of a man. Because of Tim, together we built the largest injury firm in the world, and our clients are treated the way I would want my family to be treated. At Morgan & Morgan, nobody is a nobody and everybody is a somebody. If you need our help, visit forthepeople.com on your phone or computer. See you soon, Tim. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, we've talked about this before. Sue and I think, kind of share, and a lot of people share the fascination with, true crime and murder mysteries. And the Idaho murder and the Kohberger case certainly comes to the top of that list. And I told you, Sue, that I watched the 3-part documentary on Netflix, which is called The Idaho Murders College Nightmare. It really focuses more on the victims than it does on Brian Kohberger. And I appreciated that because I don't want to give this guy too much attention. But they do have in that documentary, and it's 3 parts. And I've said this before about some of these things on Netflix in particular. I think they stretch these things out too long, but this one was pretty well done, and I feel like you're given a pretty good picture into the confusion that existed, the shocking nature of the crimes, because one of the things that you're allowed to do, and some of this has been out there, in some of the coverage that we've seen in the last few years, but this goes back now 4 years, is you see a lot of the body cam stuff, when police are rolling up. And some of the stuff, it's just horrifying because, when they make the 911 call and, the question is, why did it take so long? I have an answer.
Yeah.
I think I have an answer for that. But, they don't know what exactly is going on in the house. And there are police officers and a neighbor comes in. The other 2 roommates are outside. And that's when they see there's just blood everywhere.
Oh,
I mean, it is.
I don't know if I can handle that.
Well, they don't show that. I mean, both of these documentaries, and I'm going to talk about this one on Max. They're very, very careful about showing things that are too, grotesque and over the top. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. Both of them point out that there was so much blood in that house that it literally leaked out the foundation and was dripping outside. That's how horrific this crime was. What I told you about the one Netflix documentary is here was my main takeaway. That we just had this situation a couple weeks ago where he wants to pull back his plea. I don't know that the documentary had anything to do with that, but after watching it, one of the big takeaways, and I told you this, was there is not a lot of evidence in this case. I mean, the amount of physical evidence is 0 if you take away the DNA on the knife sheath. He cleaned the car out completely. I mean, it was unreal. There was no other. So he was trying to commit the perfect crime.
He was.
He almost did it. So last night, I couldn't help myself. There's another documentary, and I don't even know if this one is brand new, but it's called The Idaho College Murders Catching Kohberger. And this one kind of focuses mainly on him and trying to figure out who did it. And again, you have a lot of the body cam stuff. But one thing that I learned, and by the way, I am not criticizing in any way, shape, or form these girls, these roommates, or anything.
No.
They're the victims here.
Yes.
Right? This guy is an evil, evil, despicable human being who should be removed from the planet, and maybe that will still happen if he goes to trial. But this was a college party house. I had a college party house. I was located 10th and Locust, downtown Columbia. We had a house that had, 6 to 8 apartments that were in it, and we were the party house. I mean, people would come because we actually had a house, and there was another house next to us. We had this patio where there would always be kegs of beer, and people knew we were literally down from Harpo's that we were a party house. And, people would be in and out of your apartment because they'd use the restroom or whatever, and there was a lot of alcohol involved. So this house was a party house. In fact, not only were there previous 911 calls or things that happened with Kohberger, he was pulled over twice in the lead up to this. For one was for a speeding violation and another was for something else. But these girls had had police several times show up at the house because of noise complaints. And in one incident, which was not too far ahead of the murders, the cops are called. They show up. Nobody that actually rents an apartment in that house is there, and there's probably like 100 people at the house partying. And the cops are coming because of a noise complaint, and there's people that are like, well, the renters, nobody who rents the house is actually here. And the cop says something well, so you're trespassing. I'm like, no, we're not trespassing. We're here. It's just like what college kids do. I bring that up because there's a scenario where that guy was in that house at some point. It was like open all the time because it was just one of those houses that was right on campus and people knew these girls and they were fun-loving and all that. So I don't know that I'm as confused about the 911 call now because they were wasted. I mean, the one girl, one of the survivors even says she had 12 high noons. That's a fair amount of alcohol, plus shots and stuff like that. So there's all this confusion when this guy is literally in the house and one girl thinks that she sees someone that's got a hood and she's calling her other roommates and texting, but they're not answered, and she's freaked out, so she doesn't want to leave her room. Well, then she passes out, I think is what happens, because there was alcohol. And then when they finally wake up, think about it. I slept till noon, 1 o'clock. There were times I was up till 4 or 5 in the morning. That college kids do that. So I think that offers a better explanation as far as why the 911 call was made so late. And, I mean, this guy could not be more guilty, but, whoa, he did a good job of covering his tracks.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've had some issues, but right now it's not too bad. But if you are an eastbound 270 driver, there is some moderate volume headed for and crossing the Chain of Rocks Bridge. And 70 eastbound, a little slow into downtown. Westbound isn't bad. Westbound 6440 is lined up. This is approaching Kings Highway out through McCausland, slowing again at 270. But eastbound has slow pockets between 270 and Big Bend. And there's some moderate volume at the Poplar Street Bridge. Westbound 40, a little slow west of Clarkson, but it jams up Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through 70. Southbound 270, slow pockets. This is Olive, and it goes down through just south of 44 before it opens up. 55 is slowing south of Barnhart in the construction zone there. 44 slow in both directions in front of the Arch grounds. And eastbound 64 slowing 157 through 159. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, if you need any tuck pointing work done here in St. Louis, there really is only one option. That is Morelli Tuck Pointing. John and Cindy, they do a great job. They have for decades here in St. Louis. Read some of the rave reviews. Go online to MorelliTuckPointing.com. See what people are saying about them because their masonry work is absolutely top-notch. Tuck pointing, stone restoration, brickwork, chimneys, stone steps, and more. They have a ton of clients that are on their website, like Patricia, who says, we contracted for chimney repair and waterproofing. Morelli representatives were very knowledgeable and professional. The workmen were also very professional, efficient, and particular with job cleanup. That is very consistent. She says, we highly and strongly recommend Morelli Tuck Pointing. Would definitely use them again. That is very consistent in the rave reviews that you're going to see up there on the website. They have a great rating on Google. They have awesome customer service, and they take very good pride in that because they've been doing this for a long time here in St. Louis, so they're trusted. And they're a great sponsor of mine and have been for a while. Morelli Tuck Pointing at MorelliTuckPointing.com.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, Dad, what causes drains to clog?
Grease, hair, soap scum, and tree roots.
Tree roots?
This town has old pipes and big trees. They find each other.
They grow inside pipes?
They bust into pipes.
Whoa.
Once they're in, the water stops flowing.
Can we fix it?
The big green grasser machine can fix any clog.
Green is always grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
To Sarah, Fox News. In Wisconsin, self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong is hoping to secure the nomination for governor, but she failed to gain two key endorsements from fellow progressives.
Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have stopped short of endorsing her, and the outgoing Democrat Governor Tony Evers campaigned with her primary opponent, David Crowley. Evers is afraid she will win the primary, but turn off centrist voters and pave the way for the likely Republican nominee, Tom Tiffany, to march into the governor's mansion.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Milwaukee. In South Carolina, Senator Darlene Graham is hoping to run for a full term.
I think affordability is a number one issue, definitely for me. Helping President Trump get his agenda passed. I'm eager to get back to get the Save America Act passed. I was one of the few that wanted to stay there to get that done.
Darlene Graham was appointed to fill the term of her late brother, the late Senator Lindsey Graham. Representatives Russell Fry and Ralph Norman, as well as former Congressman Mark Sanford, are also in the running. A Marine veteran held in a Russian prison for years is on his way back to the U.S. as Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey says he will need significant medical care.
Senator Markey said since retired Marine Robert Gilman was taken into custody in Russia in 2022, he's been tortured and was near death upon release.
Unfortunately, I think it was the worsening health condition that helped to focus our government's, our State Department's attention on it.
Gilman's family said he went to Moldova to teach English, but was arrested while visiting family members outside Moscow.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. President Trump posting on social media Gilman is on his way to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. Wall Street stocks ended the day in the red. The Dow lost 184, the Nasdaq off 160, the S&P minus 25. The price of Brent crude oil, the international standard, rose to nearly $89 a barrel. America's listening to Fox News.
When I hit my 50s, I felt like things were slowing down.
This is Sandra's Metamucil story.
I started taking Metamucil for digestion, but had no idea it would impact so much more. Not only did Metamucil help me feel more regular, but my heart health saw the benefits too.
Metamucil. One simple routine, 4 health benefits. Digestive health starts here. Go to metamucil.com for more details.
Lots of places can expose you to identity theft.
Oh no.
That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity, which is way more than anyone can do on their own. If we find anything suspicious, like new loans or changes to your financial accounts, we alert you right away, all through text, phone, email, or the LifeLock app. Get the alerts that could make all the difference. Save up to 30% with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
This is shaping up to be our longest stretch of hardcore summer weather. Right now, I'm thinking it's going to hold right through the weekend. Partly cloudy, warm, and humid. 90s this evening, 79 for the overnight low. Wednesday, partly sunny, hot, and humid. Some spot thunderstorms. Nothing widespread, but they could be strong in some isolated conditions. 97 for the high. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
Oh, yeah. It's qualifying today with triple-digit heat indices. You know, I went to the baseball game last night. Steve Butts was nice enough to invite Jane and Alex Rich and I to the game, and it was in a suite, which was air-conditioned. But outside, I didn't think it was that bad at all. It was rather comfortable watching the Cardinals. Unfortunately, they lost. But, yeah, we're talking about that latest forecast Dave said. We got to get through tomorrow, and then things will get a little bit better. And I hope it's not ridiculously hot for the BMW next week, but it's looking like it's going to be a little sticky. Ian Sherr's going to pinch hit for George Rosenthal. It's Tech Talk Tuesday, so Ian will be here at the bottom of the hour. You know, they still have these rumors out there about a glass iPhone that's in the works at Apple, so he's on top of all that.
Interesting.
And some of the latest AI stuff. So we'll have Ian, and I will have an audio cut of the day. I'm heading out to Chesterfield after the show to visit with listeners who will be there for the Thomas Helbig event for the Retirement Advisory Group, and then back tomorrow. I think what we have tomorrow is I know we're set with Dwayne Patterson for 5 o'clock, but, I think we're going to get some reaction from the election in Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. Andrew Bostom is with us this afternoon. I read this story in the Free Press. I meant to share it with the audience, but we're going to do one better here because he's a retired Brown University academic physician. He's written 6 books focusing on Islam's treatment of non-Muslims, and he wrote a piece that caught my attention. Actually, it wasn't in the Free Press. It was Real Clear Investigations that was called Anatomy of the Islamophobic Shooting That Wasn't. And this reminds me a little bit of the story with the Pulse nightclub down in Florida. But Andrew's been nice enough to jump on and explain this story this afternoon. Andrew Bostom, how are you? Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis.
Thanks for having me on, Mark.
Is the Pulse nightclub shooting a bit of a good comparison here based on what you know about the shooting that you're going to describe in this one?
In a vague sense, I mean, but it developed pretty quickly that this was a Muslim that did the shooting. I know the narrative was that it was a homophobic crime initially that had nothing to do with Islam, and I think that story fell apart pretty quickly. This is different. This was a shooting that took place outside a mosque in Providence on November 17th, 2023. And the mosque and the victim, who, by the way, thankfully was just grazed with a bullet in his buttocks and was in and out of the ER in about 2 hours. So it was just a superficial wound, but it was serious in that it did appear to be an attempted murder. But the Council on American Islamic Relations, I should say the Hamas-linked Council on American Islamic Relations, and the mosque and the victim, ginned it up unquestionably as an Islamophobic hate crime. And unfortunately, the local press and even CNN and later the UK Guardian, the UK Mail, just basically regurgitated that story. And within a week of the shooting, the chief of investigations at the Providence Police Department was quoted in the one follow-up story there was locally by the Providence Journal, and he said, "Look, at this point, after a week of investigating, we have no evidence the mosque was targeted." And then, Mark, the story disappeared.
Yeah.
Now,
shocking.
I didn't become familiar with this. So I learned. I was really going through this all in retrospect. I first became aware of the mosque itself a little over a year later. About 2 days after that horrible attack in New Orleans, that vehicular jihad which killed 14 people and wounded about 30 people. I had been prompted about a month before that when I gave a lecture on anti-Semitism at a library outside of Providence. I gave examples of some sermons that were preached nationally, and a great question was at the end was that had I ever listened to any sermons in Rhode Island? And I hadn't, and I admit I hadn't. And then that horrific event took place on January 1st, 2025, and that was a Wednesday. And 2 days later were the Friday mosque sermons, the khutbahs. And I decided that I was going to listen to whatever was available, online. And it turned out it was this same mosque where 14 months earlier the shooting had taken place. And when I heard the sermon 2 days after this attack, I was just appalled. There was no expression of any condolence or even sympathy. There was no mention of the attack just 2 days earlier. And the imam chose as his subject matter to emphasize the solidarity of the Muslim global community. And then he invoked a verse from the Quran in the 48th chapter, 29th verse, which is where Muhammad tells Muslims to be kind to each other and harsh to the disbeliever. And I couldn't believe he was saying this 2 days after New Orleans. And this was all in English. But then it got worse in the closing supplication in Arabic. He actually inserted a call to fight the disbelievers and the polytheists, so to fight non-Muslims, basically. And I was like, what is going on here? And then it dawned on me there had been no resolution of that so-called Islamophobic shooting. And so as I began to listen to more sermons from the mosque, at the same time I put in an access to public records request for the police report. And when I got the police report by the end of the month, at the end of January of 2025, I was shocked when I read through it. They had a prime suspect, and the prime suspect had an Arabic name, now Nasir DuPont. And it turns out, with further investigation, by the time he was investigated for this crime, he was already back in prison. It's a very tragic story. He's a recidivist criminal. He's only 23 years old, but he was back in prison for other crimes, and the list of crimes includes, larceny, drug convictions, weapons convictions, and then it also turns out that the victim of this crime had a serious criminal record himself. He had been sentenced to 20 years in prison. This is Mustafa Ramos, the victim, for not only selling drugs but manufacturing them, and somehow got off after 5 years. So I was appalled at the lack of follow-up on this kind of investigation by the local media. Forget about the international media. I guess it was no longer a story for them. But the local media did no follow-up, no investigation of the two men. And now they were both named, so there were public records. And they could have done everything that I did with the help of a colleague who's a lawyer. We got all their the criminal background. Once you have a name, it's pretty easy to find. And but the story was dropped altogether. And what I found was that there was no curiosity. I presented all this information to the local press. There was actually a House resolution, Mark. There was a House resolution in February of 2024.
In Rhode Island, right?
In Rhode Island.
Yeah.
The Rhode Island House passed a resolution unanimously that singled out this particular incident, the resolution was condemning Islamophobia. Well, here we are in 2025. At the time that I was, discovering all this, I wrote to all the people that signed that resolution and promoted that resolution and said, look, you might have done this in good faith, but it's not an Islamophobic crime. You need to make some public statement. Nothing happened. Fast forward like another year plus. And finally, when I saw that the case was not being officially closed, I started to query the police department. And luckily, I was able to get because the investigating officer, this is a little sidebar, the investigating officer had actually come out to my house when I began blogging about the mosque.
Really?
He's a member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and he's a good guy, and he has to remain anonymous as the case is still open. But he told me to funnel everything through his supervisor. But he warned me that he was concerned about my safety writing about the mosque because it was a hotbed of prison converts to Islam. And so I kept that in mind. But it's like been at this for 25 years. It's just sort of par for the course. Finally, the major, who's the head of investigations, Major LePayton, I was able to get I had some conversations with him, and I was able to get him comments that he would approve of that I could say. And he basically said that this was not an Islamophobic hate crime. The case was technically open because Nasir DuPont had destroyed critical evidence, so they couldn't make the case in court. But they had a prima facie case that he was the shooter. He's the only one that was being investigated for it. And the other problem, Mark, is that the victim never cooperated. And it turns out that when you have a victim that has a criminal record in a non-fatal gunshot wound shooting, that the likelihood of the case being resolved is nil. It's about 5% in Chicago, and it's about 19% in Boston.
Why is that? Just because there's
no without the cooperation of the victim, it's hard to confirm some of these leads.
No, I get that, but why the victims? Is there a reason why most of the victims back off because they're afraid of being exposed in another way criminally?
Potentially,
yeah.
That's obviously there, and then also street justice is a real thing.
Sure,
they don't want to leave it to the court system; they want to settle the score themselves.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. So, Andrew, one of the other parts of this is in your Real Clear Investigation is you kind of go into, and did you say that you were listening to those sermons online, right? That were in English.
Yeah, but what happened, Mark, is that by let's see, when was it? Maybe last fall. That was the last time I noticed. The whole site went dark. They took down all their old. This was a standard, open Facebook page.
Right.
They eliminated all their sermons, and they used to live stream the Friday khutbahs every Friday. And they stopped doing that. And so their response was not to address any of these issues, to deny, say, well, you're misinterpreting what we were saying at the mosque. Nothing. They just eliminated everything.
Yeah, but because you already had records where in the aftermath of October 7th that there were people, the imams and others that were, preaching support for Hamas and anti-American stuff that was in these sermons on a regular basis, right?
Well, it was the support for Hamas per se was more indirect, but the Jew hatred, the hostility towards Christianity, and the promotion of jihad in general was very obvious, and that I do have records, entire sermons, and then obviously the extracts that really that reveal these very hateful themes. So that's all there. But Mark, the other issue is that, listen, the mosque is the mosque. I blame the outside community. I blame the journalists. I blame the politicians, and I blame the local religious leaders, because I presented this information to all of them. The only thing I could get out of the Jewish community, for example, was they had issued a statement 3 days after the shooting. So going all the way back to November 20th, 2023. So 3 days after the shooting on the 17th of November that year, they issued the Board of Rabbis and the Jewish Alliance of Greater Rhode Island issued a statement condemning Islamophobia. But in the same statement, Mark, they admitted, but we still don't really know if this case is Islamophobia, and that's it. And there too, I presented them with the videotape evidence of the sermons, of what the police investigation, the police report, which was now a public record, actually said. And silence.
Yeah,
nothing,
and this,
no
but
response.
see, and this is not the only situation like this. Look, once the narrative takes hold, it's not let go of. And I would put a fair amount of that on that local media that wasn't willing to dig deeper and expose what really happened. Andrew, great work here at Real Clear Investigations. I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, good luck with everything.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, I was just looking. I will go back and post this, but there is an accident northbound 270, another one past Dorset. This is the second one there this afternoon. But this time they've got the 3 right lanes blocked, multiple vehicles involved, and we've got a jam behind this that goes back. It's a parking lot back through Page. Now, if you are headed into downtown tonight, there's already some volume along eastbound 40. Let's call it pockets between 270 and Big Bend. Westbound lines up Kings Highway out through McCausland. And 270 southbound, more volume as you head on down toward the Doherty Ferry area. 55 southbound slowing south of Barnhart in the construction zone. Now, 70 isn't bad. If you want to take that into downtown, it's fine. Westbound 70 out west isn't bad either. 64 is worse. Lake St. Louis Boulevard on out through the 70 split. Now, the Illinois side is so much road work. Eastbound 64, slowing 157 to 159. Westbound 5570 jammed 255 to 111. Again, all due to road work. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. It's their 50-year anniversary, and we'd like to congratulate them. You don't stay in business that long by not being great, and the key is their experienced staff. Contact Barron Mirror Glass and Door today. Let them show you why 50 years just to beginning. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We're going to talk about AI probably a little bit here. We got Tech Talk Tuesday coming up in the next hour. Ian Sherr's going to pinch hit. But one thing that you might be tempted to do is use that when it comes to real estate. That's a bad idea because your home is likely to be the greatest financial investment you'll ever make. So you need a trained real estate expert because that is going to help you out. Give yourself an opportunity to come out on top with working with someone from the Gelman team with eXp Realty. They do great work here in St. Louis. And they give you options as well. So if you need an instant cash offer, you can go to the Gelmans right now, and they can arrange that for you. If you want to crank up the marketing, if you want to find out what your home is really worth, a couple of ways to do that. One, on your own, you can go to the GelmanTeam.com website, and you'll see something that says, how much is your home really worth? Would you like to find out for free? You click on that, you enter your address, and it will give you a number that you would likely be very close to if you're going to list your home. And if you want to list your home, nobody knows St. Louis, St. Charles, Northern Jefferson County better than the Gelman team. you're going to maybe find out that you're sitting on a gold mine that you didn't know. Now, some people find that they're expecting above asking price offers, and they may have to adjust some of the presentation of their home, but the Gelmans are going to guide you through that. Hey, and Mark had a birthday yesterday, so we gave him a shout-out for his birthday yesterday, and if you see him, wish him happy birthday. TheGelmanTeam.com with eXp Realty. Certain restrictions apply.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm in the air conditioning business. I don't advertise that much. I was leaving a customer's home, and I was out in Illinois, and as I was driving away, my fan for my air conditioner went out. I had to cross back over into St. Louis, where there was bridge construction, so massive rush hour, backed up traffic, windows down, sweating. I had to take it straight to the dealership to drop it off because there's no way I can function, much less work, without air conditioning in my truck. And I'm the same way in my house, and every homeowner, not every homeowner, but most homeowners are the exact same way. So if you're experiencing difficulties with your air conditioner, meaning you have none, call me, Bart Inman, and it's one easy number, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600. Again, Bart Inman, 314-293-2600, Missouri and Illinois. Call me. God bless.
Get ready, St. Louis. Rock Legends 3 Dog Night are bringing their chart-topping hits live to the factory. Hear the songs that defined a generation. Joy to the World, Mama Told Me Not to Come. One, live on stage Sunday, August 16th. Don't wait. Get your tickets now at thefactorystl.com. 3 Dog Night, live at the factory, August 16th. Get your tickets now at thefactorystl.com.
It's Mark Cox. Celebrate the month of August with Zero Res. Buy 2 rooms of carpet clean, get 2 rooms free, plus take 20% off air ducts and products. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of the savings.
When it comes to family law, a lot has changed in recent years, so assumptions can be costly. If you see or sense a change coming in your family life that could have legal implications, it's important to know where you stand. Getting good legal advice early is never a bad idea. I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. If you or anyone you know is facing a family law issue, start with a consultation. Visit CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You have Tech Talk Tuesdays, little pinch hitter here, calling him off the bench. Ian Sherr will be here. George taking the week off. I found this morning. I think it was this morning. What's the day? The 11th? Yeah, this morning, the Wall Street Journal, Sue. And it says how 10,000, I haven't played along here yet. That's why I'm going to do this. How 10,000 American cities got their names. The federal government used to catalog the origins of town names nationwide. There's a 334-page report that reveals the influences that shaped American communities as they spread across the country. So they say, as the nation celebrates its 250th anniversary, many Americans are curious about their hometown history. Some answers can be found in a federal report that is more than a century old when the U.S. government cataloged towns and cities and described the origins. The effort, Herculean effort, famed geographer Henry Gannett of the U.S. Geological Survey did it, sheds light on America's past. So this was, I guess, first published in 1902. They updated it in 1905. This sounds like something from Sue's News, doesn't it? Yes. And it reveals the linguistic history spanning colonization, independence, and westward expansion. I think St. Louis was part of that westward expansion thing, weren't we? So I haven't done this yet, but let's see here. What is your hometown? Was it the city of St. Louis originally, or was it somewhere else?
Just type in, well, my original hometown was, but I think I use it as a password somewhere. So just say Kirkwood.
Kirkwood. Oh, yeah. Okay. like Kirkwood 123 exclamation point
Yeah.
is Sue's password. Kirkwood, Missouri. We'll do this. And then it says the Kirkwood name is based on a railroad engineer. Wait a second. Where did it just go?
Really?
It literally just took me off that page.
Oh, wow. This is interesting, though.
I know, but I got to go back to that.
Okay.
Okay, here. I don't know why
Because
that
if you
happened.
say St. Louis, you put in a period,
Well,
and then
no,
they
that-
want you to type it
no.
out. It's too much of a pain.
That's why I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Kirkwood, Missouri. It actually comes up. Kirksville comes up too. And it says the name is based on a railroad engineer. Name for an engineer or a railroad figure. Let's do Fenton. Want to do Fenton? That's where I am.
Yeah.
Let's do Baldwin because I was in
Oh,
Baldwin.
yeah, okay,
When
there
I
you
moved
go,
here, that's what I
Baldwin.
did. Okay, Baldwin, Missouri. Let's see here what it says. Some of these might not come up. Nope, we don't know about Baldwin.
Oh, sorry.
Let's try Fenton. Yeah, you're not going to get all. There's only 10,000 here. Let's do.
let's see,
I
another-
bet there's not Fenton either, right?
Probably not.
Well, they
It's
didn't even
too
have Fenton,
recent.
Missouri come up.
Webster Groves, you could probably do someplace older. Florissant.
Let's do Webster Groves.
Okay.
Webster Groves.
'Cause that
Yeah,
has a
Fenton,
long
Fenton didn't
history.
even come up. Okay, here it is. Webster Groves, Missouri. Here we
Yeah,
go.
you got to have history.
Boom. Here we go. What does it say? This is like a little tool that they do on
I
the
like
website.
that.
Daniel Webster.
Yep. That's
but
right.
I don't know who that
just
is.
had
Who is
the
Daniel Webster?
Oh, I don't remember. We just had a history of the Lou on Webster Groves. He's a big something.
Let's do something here.
That really narrowed it down.
I'm going to
Sue.
do a
Thank
couple
you.
of the communities that I grew up in the Chicago area. So, like, I lived in Park Ridge, Illinois, and let's see if they have that one. That's kind of like a unique name, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if it comes up. Now, you'll see the problem is that you do this, you press return. Sometimes it says surprise me. I don't know what happens if you say, well, that didn't even come up.
What?
Oh, no, here it is.
Oh.
Okay, there it is. Park Ridge wasn't included in the 1905 report. So I think you're going to find that a lot where, but if they have a map of the country, and if you look at the map of the country, even around St. Louis, you'll see a ton of different influences. So they go classical French, Native American, Spanish, Dutch, English, other European, other unknown. Most major cities have all those components. There's people from everywhere. But I guess that tool is probably a little bit better used for cities that are better known. Let's see what it says. What will it say if we just put in St. Louis? Do you think?
I think if you put a period in there, it'll get weird.
No, but it'll say, if you do the tool here, because they actually say Missouri. So I think I can do it. The problem is that the Wall Street Journal's website is acting really, really funky here.
Oh.
All right, so let's do St. Louis, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis's name on, it's King Louis the 15th. Is that right?
That sounds right.
What's XV?
Yeah, XV is 15.
Okay, and his patron saint, Louis the 9th.
I'll be darned.
There you go.
That is kind of fun, but you just have to have a place with some history. Baldwin is not old enough.
No. So you would have to have, like, if we put, what about Chicago?
Oh, yeah, that should be good.
I find, I'll give you an interesting nugget after I do Chicago. Maybe I'll give you the interesting nugget first, because I thought this was always interesting, and I found this fascinating. Do you know what O'Hare Airport is named for?
I did at one point.
But
it was St. Louis.
No, it was some dude that lived on Holly Hills.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was I think he was a fighter pilot or something like that, and they named the airport, but he lived on Holly Hills here in St. Louis.
He was a St. Louis guy. There's a history of the Lou on the history of aviation in St. Louis, and it talks about that.
So that,
it's a good one.
Yeah. That's
Even though I have no memory.
Things like that are fascinating
Yes.
to me, how something like that would happen. Chicago's name is based on the Ojibwe. It's an Indian word meaning wild onion or skunk. So I don't think I knew that one. Did you know that one?
I did not.
All right, give me one more. Give me one more city or town, anywhere.
Try Florissant. No, you would
I
say
could try
anywhere?
Florissant. Florissant, Missouri.
Yeah.
See if I press that one.
Two
What does it
S's.
say? Florissant's name is based on the French word meaning flourishing.
Wow. Oh,
So there you
that's
go.
nice.
Got a little French, influence here in St. Louis. Anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting because this goes back so long. That's kind of the part that fascinates me. Is it goes back about 100 years, more than 100 years at this point.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I've been watching this accident. This is northbound 270, just south of 70. And it's the second one in this location today. They've got the two left lanes now getting by, but we've got a serious jam behind it. It's getting closer to Olive. Now, there was an accident reported 5570, and in the middle of the work zone. It looks like they may have gotten that cleared. I'm talking about the Illinois side. 5570 westbound, still slow, 255 to 111. Eastbound 64 still jammed, headed for 159. On the Missouri side, accident reported 6440 near the inner belt. Westbound traffic slow in pockets back through Kings Highway. Eastbound is back near 270. And out west, 70 is not bad. It's your best bet. But 64 lines up at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And southbound 270, slow pockets from 40 down to just south of 44. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So I got to tell you here, I've gone down a rabbit hole because my friend Shannon actually texted me the origin of Baldwin. It was named after a guy by the name of John Ball. So if you go to the history of Baldwin, on their website of Baldwin, it says Baldwin is a unique name. In fact, it's the only city in the United States with its spelling, Ballwin, not Baldwin.
Oh, no D.
Yeah, so it was founded by John Ball, son of James Ball and Mary Bray Ball of Virginia and Kentucky. His father, James, came to America from Dublin, Ireland, served in the 4th and 8th Virginia regiments during the Revolutionary War. Because of his military service, he was given a military land warrant, moved his new land in Kentucky to Kentucky after the war. He reportedly was a friend of Daniel Boone, right? So around 1798, John Ball moves to West St. Louis County, possibly at the same time as the Daniel Boone party moved and settled into St. Charles and Warren counties. So this is all happening at the same time. And they say since John Ball's property claim was derived originally from a Spanish land grant, and that land was at the time under Spanish rule because Missouri had Spanish rule, the Louisiana Purchase raised doubts about the property ownership. It took 10 years of hearings for John Ball to clear his claim to the land that would eventually become Baldwin.
Wait, so did they put win on because he won the land after all that time? What's the win?
Listen to this. The town was originally recorded as Ball Show, but 2 days later, on February 9th, 1837, Ball amended the recorded plat to be named Baldwin. No one knows for sure why the name was changed, but one of John Ball's great-grandsons says it was the result of a rivalry with Manchester. Ball saw great things ahead for his town. He was confident that he would win out in reputation or growth over its older and more prominent neighbor 2 miles to the east. Hence, the win was incorporated. Yeah, we kicked your ass. Baldwin kicked your ass, Manchester.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
Let me guide you into some expert legal help in the area of family law. That can be a particularly emotionally tough area of the law because we're talking about the end of marriages, divorce, kids, grandparents, all this stuff comes into play. I had to move back here to St. Louis. Thank goodness I did in 2006, going back a little bit further. But what happened there is I needed a new parenting plan because I was divorced in Wisconsin and it wasn't going to work with Missouri law. So then I needed a family practice attorney for that. My point is it's not only something that happens in the end of a marriage. There are a ton of post-divorce issues, modifications that come into play, and they can help you at the law offices of Susan L. Ward, LLC. Very committed to helping you with modification petitions or anything else that you might be interested in. You know, they cover a wide range of areas, and they even have a section on the website. It says choosing an attorney. If you click on that, Susan and the team will even tell you, don't wait till the last minute. People do that. Procrastination is the worst thing you can do. It rarely results in positive results. So you can make sure that you're ahead of the game because a good attorney can strategize a particular situation so smarter decisions will be made. And that's going to mean that you're in better shape in the long run. And that's exactly what they do at the law offices of Susan L. Ward. STLFamilyLaw.com, 314-783-9400. Susan L. Ward, tell them that we sent you over.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
You've pictured it, the garage door that finally makes your home look the way you want it to. And now get $500 back on a qualifying garage door with the Overhead Door Home Refresh Rebate. Qualifying purchase must be made by September 13th. Let Overhead Door Company of St. Louis upgrade your curb appeal and get you up to $500 back. Schedule a free estimate at overheaddoorstlouis.com. Select models. Rebate paid as a Visa prepaid gift card. Restrictions apply. See website for full terms.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
5:34. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Ellisville to Glen Carbon, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Audio cut of the day coming up here in just a few minutes. We do something at this particular portion of the week called Tech Talk Tuesday.
Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal of ThrottleNet, throttlenet.com.
However, Ian Sherr off the bench called into action this afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
We're doing okay. We always find this fascinating segment because it scares the hell out of us usually. So let me start with something because I know you sent some topics, but this is when I was doing show prep this morning, I see this headline in the Wall Street Journal. It might have been yesterday. The next lab leak could be AI. Recent sandbox breaches demonstrate the need for federal guardrails. I'm a person that thinks the government should stay out of most things. But these stories, and George, my friend here on this segment, has kind of gone into great detail about some of the sandbox stuff and, rogue AI. So what is your opinion of everything going on with that right now? And are we doing enough, Ian? Because I feel like we're not doing enough.
Well, it's really honestly tough to tell. The idea behind rogue AI is not, suddenly we're dealing with Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice in the background, okay? This is more about when we are testing these AIs, they are doing a lot more than we think they're capable of. An example is, for example, let's say we're doing security testing, and we say, go hack into this kind of system that we set up for you to hack and see how you do. And it tries to hack in. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But if it doesn't, it starts trying to find other ways to hack in. And what's ended up happening more and more lately is that these AIs have found increasingly unique ways to essentially fulfill what they've been asked to do. And in some cases, that's meant hacking into other systems where they might have the answer for what they're trying to do.
Oof.
So this is really uncomfortable, of course, because first off, these are hacking without being asked to do it.
Right.
But secondly, it says something about what could be done in the wrong hands, right? If you have someone who is acting in bad faith, then the bigger question is, well, if these things are hacking into the public internet just because it's trying to solve a riddle that it couldn't on its own, what happens if it is actually asked to hack into the public internet and cause real harm?
Yeah, and that's, I think, what I'm worried about, what a lot of people are worried about. So is this something, because, look, there's been a little back and forth on Capitol Hill. Some lawmakers are saying, look, we need to monitor this. And then you got Trump saying that, some of these proposals are trying to regulate the industry out of business. So mixed signals from Washington. So how do you focus on the right things here to make sure that we're protected and safe?
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is that we are in this kind of existential problem where the speed of this development is really fast. And we're also seeing that other countries are not following the same rules that we are laying out, right? Most notably in China, there are AI companies who don't have the guardrails that we are putting on, right? You remember earlier this year, the White House asked the AI industry, and the AI industry agreed, to slow the release of their most recent AIs so that government officials and banks and other critical infrastructure could test how these things hack into their systems so they would be more prepared. That's not something that's happening as much in China. And so there is a real concern that regardless of what we do here, we are not going to be able to really stop a lot of this danger. So the answer that, for example, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, right, the CEO of Facebook, he has said that we need to actually go in the opposite direction. We need to release these things as fast as possible so that these security people at these banks and all these other places can have their hands on it and be able to test it as quickly as they can to see what the vulnerabilities are.
Ian Sherr is here talking tech with us on a Tuesday evening. So I did not, this is great because this was on your list, and I did not get into this issue. You know, I have a lot of things that come in front of me, and there's always a ton that I don't get to. And one of them was this issue about flock cameras. And I've seen a lot of action on social media, on the X or Facebook, talking about this. There was a story that was in the New York Times last week that said flock cameras can track every car in America. Police love them. Citizens don't. This has become a bit of an issue that's blown up because of privacy, right, Ian?
Yes, and it's interesting because on some level, this has been an issue for quite a while. We've known about private databases of tracking people's cars and license plates for a long time, and the government has used them. The government has also used those DNA swab companies, right? Some of them allow access to the government, and they've been able to close cold cases basically because you were doing your genealogy report.
Let me just stop you there because Sue and I were having a conversation. If based on the documentaries that are out about Brian Kohberger, if they didn't have the ability to test the DNA that was on the knife sheath through those companies, I think that dude would still be free. But I know people don't like it. Some people don't like it,
right?
Though. Yeah, right.
Yes, and so these flock cameras are really becoming a hot point because they are a very public kind of example of this type of stuff happening, right? More than 7,000 organizations in the United States have contracts with Flock, and it's especially happening more and more in various cities because solar power and batteries and cellular networks make it easier to put up these cameras basically anywhere. So there are people who have actually started apps to tell people, hey, there's a flock camera here. Your city might be spying on you. You don't want to, if you don't want that, then you can avoid it. Some people have vandalized them, right, covered them with paint or held up a sign in front of them. There was one person who wakes up every morning and holds up a sign in front of it so it can't scan people's vehicles and whatnot. And it's a really tough situation. There is also an effort in a lot of cities now to force the cities to stop paying for Flock and actually remove it from their cities. Very much like there are some cities that after speed cameras went up, even though they're successful, that they wanted them taken down.
Yeah, look, I've got mixed feelings on this because I am a big privacy person. I get having cameras around in order to track people. Look, even in the Kohberger situation, there was a Ring camera where if they didn't have that, they really would have had very little evidence about the car because they saw his car and they were able to narrow down a few things. I was pulled over last summer. I think it was because of a Flock camera, because of a license plate reader, and there was a warrant out. Unfortunately, it was for my wife, not me, and it was something that was just stupid. But she would have been arrested. I mean, they didn't take me into custody, but the cop was honest. She goes, if it was your wife and we didn't realize something had come in about a court date or anything that was a year previous, they would have taken her into custody. So I get that sometimes these things are used to track down bad guys, but it's interesting the way that the privacy folks have made this an issue and kind of blown up, and now deflocking seems to be the trend.
Well, and look, we're living in an unusual political time as well, right? There is a lot of concern about specifically kind of the government being used to go after political disagreements, right? And we've seen that this is becoming a bigger issue than just simple civil liberties and people's kind of freedom of movement. And I think that's part of what's driving this as well, and you hear it on Capitol Hill, regardless of which side you're on. There's this feeling that if it becomes normal for the government to basically use its tools of surveillance to affect politics, then it's going to be used by both sides over time. And I think that's part of why people don't want these tools to be out there in the first place.
All right, one topic here, just kind of a fun topic for those of us who has the Android. I like the iPhone, but there's rumors and have been about a 20th anniversary iPhone that was going to be like this glass-centric iPhone. Now I saw something that might not be happening. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so there are rumors. There's always rumors.
Yeah,
there's
of course.
Rumors especially that there's going to be this kind of very glassy iPhone. And look, the ones that we have right now are somewhat metal on the sides, right, and kind of metal on the back. And so the idea of having it be glass all around is kind of cool. I don't know how actually useful it'll be, but that's up to Apple to market that if they do it. The thing is that there was a rumor that came out earlier this week that Apple was really struggling to actually make these things. And it's no surprise why. Glass is really hard to make, and especially to make it work well in these devices and not scratch and break and all this other stuff. So there's rumors that it's still going to happen. It wouldn't be coming up until next year anyway. I'm going to be curious to see how this plays out. But either way, it seems like Apple is going through a lot of effort to have something special for that 20th anniversary.
Which I think is cool, but you put it in a case so it doesn't shatter. So I don't know that you would see the glass. You know what I'm saying, Ian?
Well, look, I don't disagree with you, but also I know people who bought specifically the orange iPhone that came out this year or last year because they wanted it to be orange, and then they put it in a case. And I'm like, wow,
you don't see it. I know.
Orange
it's like,
iPhone
wait a
that
minute.
you're holding.
That's one of my favorite things.
So everyone's different, right? And everyone's got a reason for whatever they're doing.
And Sherr, thanks for pinch hitting tonight. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, take care. You have a great week.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, I'll tell you what, the problem area this afternoon has been northbound 270 approaching 70. We've had multiple accidents there, well, 2, and they're still clearing the second one, and they've got the right lane and the right shoulder blocked. So if you are traveling in that area, expect a slow go that goes south of Page. Now, westbound 40, it's the usual volume. Kings Highway out through McCausland. If you're headed into downtown, eastbound is a little slow at 270, but most of the volume is east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. And southbound 270, moderate volume right now, headed for Manchester. It's a lot better than it was. Out west, 64 is a slow go, mainly Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And on the Illinois side, a little bit of volume westbound on the Poplar. Eastbound 64 slows approaching 159. And westbound 5570 slows approaching 111. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, bathrooms, outdoor spaces, and they give you quality craftsmanship and lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com. Sue Thomas with traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We're here to celebrate America's 250th birthday in 2026. This is 97.1 FM Talk. America 250 is sponsored by Paramount Men's Medical Center.
Men, are you just not feeling it? Could be your testosterone. U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peter's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. Check out the testimonials at usmensmedicalcenter.com. Patients are excited about feeling great, having energy, improved libido. Plus, they love the staff and the fact that they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333. usmensmedicalcenter.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Gentlemen, Mark Cox here. When's the last time you actually felt like yourself? Victory Men's Health specializes in hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, and longevity. It's built for everyday men who just want to feel better and perform their best. They already have offices in Town and Country, Sunset Hills, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. They're about to open a new location in Glen Carbon very soon. It's a higher standard of care just waiting for you. Learn more at victorymenshealth.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Audio cut of the day is coming up here in just a couple of minutes. I'm then off to see a bunch of you, hopefully, that are setting up for the Thomas Helbig event in Chesterfield off of Swingley Ridge Road. We hope to see you at the DoubleTree by Hilton in just a little bit. Mark and Annie will be there as well. Before we get to cut of the day, let me tell you about this fabulous trip that I kicked off a couple of weeks ago to Croatia. I have raved about my tour guide, Mike Kenny. Mike and I traveled together like even more than a decade ago with some listeners. He worked for a different company. And then about 4 years ago, I said, let's travel again. And he had been kind of bugging me to do some trips. And we took some listeners to Spain. That was almost 3.5 years ago. Last year, we went to Greece. It was a fabulous trip. This one is going to be great. It's the best of Croatia and the Dalmatian coast. It is a small cruise adventure. So what that means, and this is what's really cool, if you're someone out there, a lot of people like cruising. It's not my favorite thing on the planet. I'd rather be on a beach or see sights and things like this. But the way to get around Croatia on a 12-day journey is on this very small ship, and it's designed for just 36 guests. So you get beautiful cabins, great service, a relaxed atmosphere, 36 guests. So they'll all be in our group touring Croatia. It's 7 nights aboard the MV Maritomo. It's 2 nights in Zagreb, and we're really going to have a great time. A lot of this is going to focus on not only the sites that are beautiful, they're very small ports of call that we'll spend the nights in. We get to tour great places like Zagreb, and there's oyster tasting, and there's Croatian olive oil tasting and wine tasting, great food experiences. So this is going to be a spectacular trip. I think I forgot to mention when it was. May 25th through June 5th of next year. Go to definedestinations.com. You can always email me here at the station or at marktalk@mac.com if you have questions. If you go to my Twitter site, we'll call it Twitter X. If you go to the top of Twitter, you'll see that I have pinned the link to this trip, which is, again, May 25th through June 5th. Croatia, come on board. We've already got several cabins sold. We'd love to have you. It's going to be an amazing trip. Again, the website, definedestinations.com. Or, again, you can just go to the top of my Twitter page and find it that way. All right, we got to do this here this afternoon before I get out of here.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, I have several with which I can draw from here this afternoon. And let's just start with our friend Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. We'll get to Wisconsin, where there's a primary tonight in just a couple of minutes. But, you know, just imagine that you are living in Michigan, or maybe you're going to the University of Michigan or Michigan State, and you see a commercial, because I can almost promise you that there are going to be commercials that run during football season about Abdul El Sayed by Mike Rogers, his opponent, where he says that football is just toxic masculinity.
Football is very much associated with a particularly masculine and oftentimes toxically masculine culture, and so much of it was about you wanted to be able to get back up and play for your team, and you really aren't allowed to show pain or vulnerability. That's part of the sport.
Yeah, football is part of the problem, toxic masculinity. So that's in Michigan. Then you go over to Wisconsin. I'm not sure what's going on in my former state. I lived there for 9.5 years. Now, I've seen Democrats, I've seen Republicans. I've never seen a Democrat socialist in Wisconsin win a race. But that seems like what's going to happen tonight when the votes are counted for Francesca Hong. Here are some of her greatest hits.
Rapid fire. Do you support repealing Act 10?
Yes.
Universal child care.
Yes.
Free school meals.
Yes.
Guaranteed pay leave.
Yes.
Abolishing ICE.
Yes.
We have to dismantle police unions, defund the police. In the service industry, we are finally having this conversation about, how our industry really did come from it and kind of is rooted in white supremacy.
Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities.
My favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. I actually love it.
It's like, which one is she? It's bizarre. But again, she might win. She just says she's naive for all that other stuff.
I was actually trying to become a sports journalist when I first went to college. So I learned then you have some hot takes, sometimes bad takes on Twitter. And I let my feelings out into the world. And right now, as governor, what I'm most serious about are the issues that voters are telling me they want solutions for.
Well, it kind of fits the narrative if she was going to do sports journalism, because most of them are socialists and communists, too. I don't really understand that, but that seems to be the case. Now, one thing I know about Wisconsin, very strange state politically, and my friend, the former governor, Scott Walker, says, do not underestimate her.
Don't think because she talks about these crazy ideas that somehow it's going to be a cakewalk. This starts the day after the primary as a 50-50 race in a state that historically, since 1990, has gone in all but one elections opposite of the White House.
History's important there, and he raises a very good point. We'll be counting the votes tonight. We'll tell you about it tomorrow afternoon at 3. Have a great night. I'm heading out to Chesterfield for the Thomas Helbig event with Bob Kershaw and Tammy Kershaw. We'll see you then.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Hey, traffic is looking better. Now, if you're going to the ball game tonight, eastbound 6440 is slow, but it's just east of Lindbergh through Big Bend, and then it opens up, so that's not bad. Westbound, just some moderate volume at Clayton Skinker. 70 westbound looks great out of downtown all the way out west. 64 slows at Prospect. And 55 actually looks pretty good right now. They've got multiple construction zones going, but right now it's okay. But there was an accident reported on southbound 141, not that far from Winding Bluffs Drive, if that helps you. And so that's kind of midway, 141 between Gravois and 21. So that's a slow go. On the Illinois side, some moderate volume westbound on the Poplar, eastbound 64 slows at 159, and westbound 5570 is slow from 255 to 111 due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Why pay full insurance when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty, 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 liberty.
Listen up. If you have not paid self-employment, business, or individual taxes in years, the IRS will find you. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. I offer real solutions. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Story, today, and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal, or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. At the Lance Story Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120 or visit LanceDruryLaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey, I want to talk about Banner Construction. I thought about my friends at Banner, Bill Kaufman and Sam P. over the weekend. I was power washing, I have to say it that way, right, my home, and I remembered something they had to repair on the side of my house because some idiot was hitting golf balls into the woods. No idea who this person was.